Chapter 889. Brother Qiao, if the old doesn't go, the new won't come. Don't be sad. Later I'll give you a border city. Jiang Tian saw that Qiao Huayin was sad and kindly comforted him. Don't brag. Qiao Huayin smiled bitterly and shook his head. This little brother's strength wasn't bad, but he was too impulsive. Killing the patrol officers was equivalent to putting himself in a place of no return. As for returning a desolate city to him, that was simply nonsense. Dad, where are we going? Qiao Huailuo's hair was pulled straight by the wind, and the muscles on her cheeks trembled as she shouted at the top of her lungs. To the Demon Cave Mountain, the mountain of sin. Qiao Huayin showed a look of yearning and responded loudly. The Demon Cave Mountain. Dad, so you have connections with the Demon Cave Mountain. Qiao Yingluo and the others were excited and in disbelief. You don't know, right? Chu Yonghui is the peak master of the Demon Cave Mountain's Jade Well Peak. Let's go and seek refuge with him. Qiao Huayin smiled. At the edge of the heavenly star space, there was a huge mountain range with a radius of 100 miles called the Demon Cave Mountain. Here there were deep ravines and cliffs, undulating giant trees that covered the sky, and poisonous miasma filled the air. Evil beasts and poisonous insects were everywhere, and evil spirits ran rampant. It was extremely dangerous, and ordinary people were unwilling to enter. Moreover, the geological situation was complex and changeable, a bit similar to the karst landforms on Earth, but more complex and strange. The mountain was riddled with holes, and the underground rivers and holes were intertwined with each other like an ant's nest. According to statistics, the area of the underground world of the Demon Cave Mountain was more than 10 times the surface area. This became a natural barrier for the rebels to avoid the pursuit of the Heavenly Star Palace. There were 2 million people living here. Elusive killers, murderous bandits, insidious smugglers, contraband manufacturers and peddlers, black markets, casinos, and a series of black areas on the edge of the law were all gathered here. Therefore, the Demon Cave Mountain was also known as the Mountain of Sin, a lawless place and the largest black market in the Heavenly Star Small World. As long as you had enough crystals, you could buy pills with amazing effects but extremely unstable quality here. You could also buy many powerful offensive magical weapons that were banned by the Heavenly Star Palace. You could even buy treasures of unknown origin from other small worlds in the Heavenly Star Small World. Even if he did not have crystals, he could still use his own strength to fight for a piece of the world in the exciting and blood-boiling casinos or fighting arenas. In fact, in the long river of history, the Starry Sky Palace had sent out troops to kill them many times, but every time they returned in defeat. The reason for this was that behind the major forces of Demon Cave Mountain, there were many large sects, including the Heavenly Star Palace. Heavenly Stars TTTs want note have 8 TTTs. Secondly, cultivators were human beings too. They had feelings too. After a long period of boring training and a stressful life of fighting, they would develop dark and negative feelings, and they needed an outlet to vent their feelings too. Most importantly, the spiritual energy in the Demon Cave Mountain was unstable and miasma pervaded, breeding a large number of demon beasts. As for the martial artists and cultivators who lived in Demon Cave Mountain, these lawless people, they were the first line of defense for humanity against the monster beasts. After all, they had to kill the demon beasts to survive here. In the Heavenly Star Small World, an unspoken rule had gradually formed. Once a criminal escaped into the Demon Cave Mountain, the righteous sects and major cities would no longer search for them. Where do you think Dad sold the magical weapons he refined? Half of them were sold to Chu Yonghui. Qiao Huayin smiled triumphantly. Then he showed a bit of anger and said coldly, "In this world, other than the Heavenly Star Palace, everyone else has to starve to death. We have to find a way to survive. Master, don't be sad. I heard that Chu Yonghui loves talent very much. He'll definitely find a good job for Master Jiang." The stinky monkey said excitedly. "I can talk to Sister Chu Yunxiu. She's my sworn sister and she likes to make magical weapons." Qiao Yingluo said sweetly. Chu Yunxiu. Qiao Beishan and the stinky monkey looked at her with reverence, as if they had heard the name of a goddess. Yes, 20th on the prodigy list. She can stand side by side with those Daoists, the son of the city lord and the elites of the sects. Even Qiao Huayin showed some admiration. Then she said seriously, "Although you often call each other sisters, that's just her casual words. You can't take it seriously. Her identity is too noble, we can't be friends with her." Chu Yunxiu was Chu Yonghui's only daughter, and her cultivation and skills were top-notch. She stepped into the first level of foundation establishment at a young age, controlled the Jade Well Trading Company, and was ranked 20th on the prodigy list. In this world, among the younger generation, only the 9 elite disciples of the Heavenly Star Palace, Fairy Miao Yi of the Heartless Sect, Monk de Exin of the Demon-Subduing Temple, and Ding Ling Dang, the beloved daughter of the Star Capital City Lord, could surpass her. Jiang Tian interrupted with a smile. Ing Luo, you can also make magic weapons? Hehe, they're just some simple life-type magical artifacts. Xiao Ing Luo said a little shyly. For example, a doll that can jump on time, a stick that can massage itself. I can only make ordinary magic weapons for combat. Jiang Tian nodded. Dad, you're already a member of the Demon Cave Mountain, but you still want me to apply for the Heavenly Star Palace's outer sect? Suddenly Xiao Ing Luo pouted. Don't tell me you want me to catch you in the future? You're a contraband manufacturer, a smuggler. Qiao Huayin showed a bitter smile, shook his head and sighed. Child, it's just for a way to survive. I joined the Demon Cave Mountain just to eat, and you joined the Heavenly Star Palace just to eat. Dad, maybe the Demon Cave Mountain will overthrow the Heavenly Star Palace? Then wouldn't you be the founder of the sect? Xiao Ing Luo said with a smile. Don't even think about it. Qiao Huayin shook his head and said flatly. No matter what, the Heavenly Star Palace is the #1 sect with a lot of talents and strong people. Although the Demon Cave Mountain has a large population, it can't compare to any of the 4 major cities, not to mention that there are several stronger sects in the 4 major cities. First of all, in terms of absolute power, it's a little weaker. Secondly, the peak masters there each have their own mountains and everyone is unconvinced. They're like a plate of loose sand, so how can they possibly defeat the Heavenly Star Palace? After flying for half an hour, the Demon Cave Mountain finally revealed its true appearance. This area was about 100 kilometers in radius. However, the altitude of the peaks was far higher than the mountain ranges on Earth. Most of them reached more than 5,000 meters, and the highest was even 10,000 meters high. Looking from afar, one could see numerous steep peaks densely packed together, like sharp swords pointing to the sky. At this time, the night was dark and the wind was strong, and the bright stars gathered into a huge vortex, tearing, colliding, and swallowing each other. From the center of the vortex, surging spiritual energy and colorful miasma aura were ejected, mixed with thunder as thick as an arm, blasting toward the mountains like a volcanic eruption. Master, what is this? Yi Tianren asked solemnly. This scene was too shocking. If a foundation establishment cultivator was swallowed by the vortex, they would probably be reduced to dust. This space is supported and stabilized by 3 huge arrays: a gravity simulation array, a space suspension array, and a heavenly cycle array. Jiang Tian's eyes lit up as he stared at the chaotic space and said in a deep voice, originally, the spiritual energy would fall from the surroundings and be attracted to the bottom of this space by the heavenly cycle array, then seep out from the mountains and plains. But too much time has passed and many flaws have appeared in these arrays, causing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to become chaotic and unbalanced. The spiritual energy directly explodes from a point in the void, and under the influence of the gravity array, it bombards the ground. Jiang Tian's face was a little worried. Others might not be able to see it, but Jiang Tian could. These arrays could only last for 300 years at most. After 300 years, many of the arrays would collapse, and the entire continent would fall apart, turning into chaotic meteorite fragments. This might be the reason why the Starry Palace was the first to attack Earth among the many hidden sects. They could not afford to wait. Demon Cave Mountain has 7 main peaks, 9 caves and 36 ridges. There are more than 50 big and small forces in total. Jade Well Peak is ranked 4th. Qiao Huayin introduced excitedly. The few giant back eagles were also experienced. Spreading their enormous wings, they skillfully avoided the turbulence of spiritual energy and the flashing lightning and flew toward a mountain that seemed to be glittering and translucent. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The giant back eagle landed on a raised platform halfway up the mountain. Qiao Huayin jumped down from the eagle's back and said with a face full of joy, "We're here." Jiang Tian looked around. He saw a cave winding into the mountain, and the words Jade Well Peak were carved in stone above the cave entrance. The platform had a radius of a few hundred meters and was completely paved with high-quality jade. The sides of the cave entrance were carved with excellent water-quality jade into the shape of pishio, qilin, taotai, and other ancient beasts. The carvings were exquisite, and the eyes were inlaid with all kinds of gemstones. The door was made of gold mixed with rare metals. It was indestructible and exuded a sense of heroism. The ceiling of the cave was inlaid with fist-sized luminous pearls, emitting a gentle halo. These things, be it exotic beasts, luminous pearls, gold, or even jade, would all be extremely rare treasures on Earth. They would be priceless. However, they could be found everywhere here. The wealth of Jade Well Peak was evident. Jade Well Peak was indeed one of the 7 main peaks and was blessed by nature. Standing on the platform and looking down at the mountains, it gave people a feeling of looking down at the mountains, making them feel proud. Moreover, there should be a huge spirit-gathering array in the mountain. Even though they were still outside the mountain, they could feel the abundant spiritual energy that was not inferior to the heavenly cycle eternal array. Such a sect's aura and such a deep foundation were indeed shocking. Even Yi Tianren was secretly shocked. The sects on earth, such as ancient Wudong and Amei sect, were like country bumpkins in comparison. Perhaps only the Kunlun sect could compete with them. Bastards, who allowed you to come here? Do you know where this is? Get out. A guard quickly walked over and stopped them. His eyes were full of disdain as if he was looking at ants. When Jiang Tian saw this, his face darkened slightly. His eyes flickered with a sharp killing intent. Chapter 890. Although this Jade Well Peak looked oppressive, the people in charge of guarding it were all elite experts. Each of them was clad in dark gold armor and wielded a Dharma artifact. Their eyes shone brightly. All of them were at the peak of the transcendent state and were only one step away from the immortal state. No wonder Qiao Huayin had told Qin Fan that the annual income of the guards was more than that of a patrol captain. I am Qiao Huayin, the leader of the Divine Craftsman Hall in Qingyang Town. Jiang Tian was about to make a move when Qiao Huayin pulled him back. His face was full of joy as he cupped his fists and said respectfully, "You must have an invitation or an appointment before you can enter." The guard said disdainfully, "Our peak master is a prestigious figure. You think you can meet him?" Qiao Huayin smiled apologetically and said humbly, "I don't have an invitation, but I've been a supplier to our peak master. I've had a few drinks with our peak master. Now that I have something important to report to our peak master, please inform him." Shoo, our Jade Well Peak has at least 800 if not 1,000 suppliers like you." The guard waved his hand as if he was shooing away a fly. He raised his eyebrows and said disdainfully, "If anyone can see our peak master just because they want to, then peak master should stop doing business and just focus on receiving you." Qiao Huayin was embarrassed. He took out a bag of crystal stones and asked the guard to open the gate. However, the guard kicked him to the ground. "You don't have to fight with me if you don't want to let us in." Jiang Tian raised his eyebrows and the sky-devouring magic gourd jumped up from his waist. He was about to behead the guard. "Boss Qiao, why are you here instead of making a fortune in Qingyang Town?" At this moment, a low, muffled voice sounded. Everyone turned around and saw a fat man riding an equally fat white crane and landing on the platform. "Boss Qiao is my friend. How can you make things difficult for him?" Under the escort of a few attendants, he got off the white crane. With his chest puffed out and his hands behind his back, he walked over with a frown on his face and a displeased scolding. "Hall Master Huang." "Greetings, Hall Master Huang." The guards bowed to the newcomer in a very humble manner. "Brother Huang Biao, you're back. Hurry up and tell your brothers to let me in." Qiao Huayin's face lit up as if he had seen his savior. "Alas, what bad luck. The Hall of Divine Craftsmen has been exposed, and the patrolling officers of the border city have come to investigate. I have no choice but to seek refuge with the Peak Lord. A few patrolling dogs scared you to this extent? I thought you were the lackeys of the Department of Investigation Services. You're becoming more and more useless." Huang Biao smiled casually. Behind him, a few of his followers burst into laughter. They looked at Qiao Huayin as if he was a clown. "Old Qiao, not just anyone can enter Jade Well Peak's entrance. The Peak Master's status is honorable and not just anyone can meet him." Huang Biao was an immortal state cultivator and was the Hall Master of a branch. He was highly regarded by Chu Yonghui and his status was much higher than Qiao Huayin's. At this time he was like a big shot inspecting the countryside, amiable and aloof. "However, you have contributed to Jade Well Peak after all and now you're in trouble. It's reasonable that I can't leave you alone." Thank you, Brother Huang. I knew it, you're always the most loyal. Qiao Huayin's face was full of joy and gratitude. At this time Huang Biao's gaze swept across Jiang Tian Yi Tianren and the big black dog. He frowned and questioned unhappily. But you want to bring in these miscellaneous people and more importantly, a black dog? What's the meaning of this? You're so insensible. Qiao Huayin's face stiffened and he couldn't make a decision. Qiao Yingluo hurriedly said. Uncle Huang, this Mr. Jiang is a genuine immortal master. He's in the immortal state and even has a foundation establishment cultivation. He even killed a few patrolling dogs and saved our family. Just let him in. He's an immortal master, silly girl. You've been deceived, why can't I tell? When Huang Biao looked at Qiao Yingluo, a trace of affection appeared on his face. Although this girl's aptitude was average and she didn't have a good family background, she was a good match for his silly son. Really, Uncle Huang? If you don't let him in, then I won't go in either. I'll wander the world. Qiao Yingluo stomped her feet and pouted. She was originally beautiful and charming. Now that she was acting coquettishly and shamelessly, she was even more attractive and made people feel pity for her. Seeing this, Jiang Tian had a good impression of this girl. At least she knew how to repay kindness. Why don't you take a look at her physique and give her a few pointers? We can be considered acquaintances. Jiang Tian thought so and used his divine sense to scan Qiao Yingluo slightly, secretly praising her. Qiao Yingluo had the ice heart jade urn body, which was a type of water-type spirit body. Her physique was not bad and could be cultivated. Since you've done the Qiao family a favor and Yingluo has pleaded for you, then come in with me. Huang Biao patted Qiao Yingluo's head, then looked at Jiang Tian and arrogantly instructed and warned him. But you have to pay attention to your identity. Don't run around inside. Jade Well Peak is preparing for the annual meeting. If you offend a distinguished guest, it will be difficult to explain. Oh. Jiang Tian's eyes flickered and he smiled faintly. It had been a long time since anyone dared to threaten him, the Taichu Celestial Venerable. Whether it was in his previous life Jiang Tian had dominated hundreds of millions of star regions, or after his rebirth he had shocked a star. Now with his strength he could pierce through Jade Well Peak with one sword and destroy it with a flick of his finger. But now this fatty Huang dared to threaten him. Let's go, Brother Jiang. It's my first time at Jade Well Peak and Chu Yunxiu is my best friend. I'll help you find her. After getting permission, Qiao Yingluo immediately pulled Jiang Tian into the cave excitedly. Jiang Tian narrowed his eyes slightly and glanced at Huang Biao, but he didn't make a move. Jiang Tian's divine sense had just scanned Demon Cave Mountain and found that spirit energy and miasma intertwined. Demon beasts were rampant, so there should be a lot of natural treasures here. He might even be able to find resources that could help him change his constitution from gold to black water. But he was unfamiliar with the place and needed Qiao Yingluo or someone from Jade Well Peak to be his guide. There was no need to kill an ant like Huang Biao at such a critical time and become enemies with Jade Well Peak. After Jiang Tian and Qiao Yingluo went in, Yi Tianren and the big black dog also followed in. Qiao Huayin walked into the cave while chatting with Huang Biao. Hall Master Huang, why did you say that the annual meeting of Jade Well Peak would be held in advance? The demon race isn't peaceful. It's said that the great demon Bai Zhe has awakened. Recently, many demon races have joined forces and started a war repeatedly, trying to drive us away from Jade Well Peak. Huang Biao's face was solemn as he said in a low voice. The demon race is about to come out. Qiao Huayin's expression changed drastically. He was so shocked that his whole body trembled. And it's the great demon Bai Zhe. That's a legendary demon immortal. It's even stronger than a golden core expert. This demon cave mountain was originally the territory of the demon race. Huang Biao said lightly. But you don't have to worry. This time we'll join forces with Jinsong Peak. Jinsong Peak will join forces with us? Will Peak Master Jiang Haishan come? Qiao Huayin couldn't believe it. Jinsong Peak was the strongest peak in Demon Cave Mountain. It had more than 30 Foundation establishment experts. Jinsong Peak was so powerful that it was a well-known existence in the entire Heavenly Star small world. Especially the Peak Master of Jinsong Peak, Jiang Haishan, who had reached the 5th level of Foundation establishment. He was known as a dragon among men. His cultivation ability and tactics were all excellent. He had once fought with the leaders of various sects and retreated calmly. In the entire Demon Cave Mountain, Zhou Xian was a first-class expert and the most promising existence to unify Demon Cave Mountain. It was said that even the city lords of the 4 major cities and the sect masters of the 9 sects had a whole new level of respect for him. I don't know if Zhou Xian will come. Huang Biao shook his head and smiled mysteriously. But Zhou Xian's son Jiang Yunhe will definitely come. The reason why Jin Song Peak agreed to join forces with us is because the 2 peaks are going to be connected by marriage. Miss Yunxiu is going to marry Jiang Yunhe. Qiao Huayin's eyes lit up with excitement. He wanted to see the glory of Jiang Yunhe, a top genius. Not only was Jiang Yunhe from a famous sect, but he was also a talented and eye-catching person. He was only 25 years old, but he had already reached the 2nd level of foundation establishment and was ranked 16th on the genius list. It was said that he had sparred with the Daoist of Zhou Xian before and was only slightly inferior. In the entire younger generation of Demon Cave Mountain, he was an outstanding figure in many famous mountains, caves and lakes. That's right, Jiang Yunhe has already left the mountain. However, some cave masters, hall masters and young talents of the younger generation are inviting him to a banquet. He will definitely come this year. Huang Biao said confidently. This marriage involves the 100-year plan of the 2 peaks and even the great cause of unifying Demon Cave Mountain. It can be said to be a grand event and the Peak Master values it very much. A grand event, this is really a grand event. Qiao Huayin's face was full of yearning as he sighed. But he could only sigh. After all, he was too far away from these tyrants and geniuses. He didn't even have the right to talk to them. Chapter 891. And Jiang Tian had already been pulled into Jade Well Peak by the little girl Qiao Yingluo. This Jade Well Peak lived up to its name. It was hollow inside like a deep well that led straight to the ground. The air was filled with the smell of rust and billowing heat waves. On the walls of the mountain there were rooms, refining rooms, alchemy rooms, storage rooms, fighting arenas, markets of various sizes, either naturally formed or artificially excavated. There were hundreds of them densely packed together, but they were orderly and had distinct levels, just like an underground city. And there were plank roads and covered bridges connected, crisscrossing in mid-air like a spider web. Some of the cultivators of Jade Well Peak flew through the air on their flying swords, some rode on large birds, and even more rode on a platform that was like an elevator that was pulled by ropes like Jiang Tian and the others. Here, such ladders with power devices like wooden oxen and horses were called hanging ladders. In the casino there were occasional hoarse shouts. In the fighting arena, there were sounds of fists and feet and swords clashing. In the market there were whispers of bargaining. I heard that fighting competitions are held here every day, and there's even a casino where you can bet. Qiao Yingluo looked fascinated and rubbed her palms, not knowing if she wanted to bet or fight. Soon the hanging ladder stopped on the 39th floor, and Qiao Yingluo pulled Jiang Tian into a large hall. This was the headquarters of the Jade Well firm. The little girl put her delicate hands behind her back, looked left and right and shouted, "Sister Yunxiu, where are you? Yingluo is here to see you. Yingluo, I heard the report that you killed someone outside. You must have caused trouble again, right?" A woman in snow-white clothes with a gentle face walked out from the inner room and said in a displeased tone. As soon as this woman came out, the whole hall lit up, and even the luminous pearls inlaid on the roof were overshadowed. She had bright eyes and white teeth, a beautiful face, elegant manners. Her white clothes were spotless and she was like a fairy in the mortal world, untainted and untainted. "Sister Xiu, I'm about to be bullied to death. Not only are you not going to uphold justice for me, you're even mocking me like this." Qiao Yingluo pouted coquettishly, but she had already flown over like a swallow returning to the forest. She jumped up and wrapped her legs around Chu Yunxiu's waist. She rubbed her head against Chu Yunxiu's neck like a spoiled child. This girl is already 16 years old. She can get married, but she's still acting like a wild child. Chu Yunxiu smiled and patted Qiao Yingluo's shoulder. "I wonder which young master will take a fancy to you in the future. What if I can't get married?" "Ah, sister, you smell so good." Qiao Yingluo sniffed her neck greedily. Chu Yunxiu's beautiful eyes landed on Jiang Tian. She blushed slightly and said, "Come down quickly. There are guests here." Qiao Yingluo jumped down and pulled Jiang Tian's hand forward. "Immortal Master Jiang, this is Chu Yunxiu, Peak Master Chu's daughter. She's also my good sister. It's her favorite life-type magic tool." "Sister Xiu, This is Immortal Master Jiang. He's at least in the foundation establishment stage. He's definitely a young talent. In Qingyang town he killed dozens of dogs and saved our family. He's really a hero. Immortal Master Jiang's cultivation is actually so powerful. Xianxia was slightly stunned. Her clear eyes looked up and down at Jiang Tian in disbelief. She was famous on the Tianjiao list. In the whole Heavenly Star small world she was also an outstanding figure of the younger generation. She controlled the famous Jade Well Trading Company and had a wide range of friends. Tianjiao, son of the Peak Master, Daoist, son of the City Lord, core disciples of large sections. She knew a lot of people but she had never seen a person like Jiang Tian. Although Qiao Yingluo was still young she was very sensible and considered a lot for Jiang Tian. She smiled and said, Sister Xiu, your Jade Well Trading Company and the entire Jade Well Peak are in need of people. With Immortal Master Jiang's ability he can at least be a hall master or an elder, or be a great consecrator in the peak. In this way Immortal Master Jiang will have a place to stay and our strength will also be strengthened. Isn't it the best of both worlds? Chu Yunxiu looked at Jiang Tian with her beautiful eyes. She bowed slightly and said with a smile, Immortal Master Jiang, you're in the foundation establishment stage? Which famous sect or family do you come from? The first level of the foundation establishment stage. Jiang Tian said with a calm face. I'm from the other side of the starry sky. I'm the leader of a small sect on earth. I see. Chu Yunxiu couldn't believe it and showed a bit of surprise. Suddenly she looked at Jiang Tian with a faint smile and said, Yingluo, you go out first. I'll discuss his position with Mr. Jiang. Well, you guys take your time. I'm going out. Xiao Yingluo looked depressed and felt abandoned, but she still went out obediently. Earth is a wasteland world with thin spiritual energy. People there are called abandoned people of the gods. It's impossible for them to reach the foundation establishment stage. After Xiao Yingluo left, Chu Yunxiu raised her hand and set up a soundproof restriction. Then she said coldly, What's your intention for lying to my sister like this? Is the first level of the foundation establishment stage that great in your eyes? Do I have to lie? Jiang Tian stood with his hands behind his back. His face was calm as he said disdainfully, even if a golden core master is here, even if the master of the Heavenly Star Palace is here, I can kill him with a raise of my hand. Jiang Tian had returned after 10,000 years of cultivation. In terms of cultivation techniques, combat experience and understanding of cultivation he was far superior to his peers. Moreover he had achieved great success in the Gingjin divine body. With the advantage of his physique, his combat power was far beyond his cultivation level. He could even kill a golden core master. Shameless boasting. You're ignorant and fearless. Chu Yunxiu's face was full of sarcasm. Cultivation levels were strict and could not be crossed. The difference between the foundation establishment stage and the golden core stage was like heaven and earth. A first level of the foundation establishment stage facing a golden core master was like a 3-year-old baby facing a strong man. He could not withstand a single blow. Anyone who had a bit of common sense about cultivation wouldn't be so arrogant. This boy was so ignorant that he was obviously a liar. Suddenly, Chu Yunxiu thought of something, and her face suddenly became cold and severe. In an instant, the gentleness and elegance on her body suddenly disappeared. Her whole person was like an unsheathed sword, incomparably sharp. At this time her monstrous sternness as a peerless genius was revealed. Her eyes were as cold as knives and she said coldly, Let me remind you. Although Yingluo and I are not related by blood, we've known each other since childhood and are like sisters. I will definitely protect her. Don't even think about humiliating her. What are you thinking? She and I only met by chance. Besides, she's only 16 years old, still a child. Jiang Tian was stunned for a moment, then he frowned. I will be the only daughter of the Jade Well Peak's master in the future, and I will marry the young master of the Golden Pine Peak, Jiang Yunhe. In the future I will definitely be the master of the Jade Well Peak and the wife of the Golden Pine Peak's master. Chu Yunxiu lifted her jade-white chin and said proudly, If you marry Xiao Yingluo then you will be my brother-in-law in the future. At that time you will receive great benefits and naturally receive my protection. Otherwise, why are you trying to curry favor for no reason? I'm trying to curry favor for no reason. Jiang Tian did not know whether to laugh or cry. Weren't you trying to curry favor by killing those patrolling dogs? Chu Yunxiu seemed to have seen through Jiang Tian's cunning plot and said disdainfully, "Don't be delusional. Don't be delusional. For thousands of years, the ants of earth were only qualified to be slaves here. And those who are worthy of my sister have to be the young master of the peak, the son of the city lord, or the elite disciple of that big sect, or the top 100 masters on the prodigy list. Haha, you really think too highly of yourself. You're underestimating my ability too much." Jiang Tian flung his sleeves and laughed loudly. "Not to mention a mere jade well peak, even if it's the entire demon cave mountain, even if it's the heavenly astral palace, even if it's this heavenly astral dimensional realm, even if it's the entire hidden sect world, how could it be in my eyes? I, Kong Teichu, have been undefeated all my life and have never been weaker than anyone. Why would I need your protection?" Chu Yunxiu looked coldly at Jiang Tian as if looking down on an ant and did not say a word. She was too lazy to say anything else. As the eldest miss of the Jade Well Peak and the owner of the Jade Well Trading Company, she controlled countless resources and was extremely talented. She only reached the first level of foundation establishment with the guidance of many famous masters. If Jiang Tian really came from the Earth realm, how could he have reached the foundation building realm? Such an ant from the wasteland world, born lowly and weak without any inheritance or foundation, how could he be qualified to look down on heroes and boast so shamelessly? That's all we have to say. Goodbye. Jiang Tian couldn't be bothered to speak any more nonsense, flicking his sleeves and leaving. "Where are you going?" Chu Yunxiu asked. "This world is so vast that I can roam freely. Can't I live if I don't live under the roof of your Jade Well Peak?" Jiang Tian strode away without looking back. His expression was arrogant and he sneered coldly. "Reckless thing, you don't know how dangerous this world is. When you're badly injured by the cruel reality, you'll definitely come and beg me pitifully. At that time I'll humiliate you and let you know the consequences of ignoring my warnings." Being ignored by Jiang Tian like this, Chu Yunxiu was both embarrassed and angry. She snorted and said disdainfully. Chapter 892. Jiang Tian couldn't be bothered and strode out the door. Qiao Beishan, the stinky monkey Yi Tianren, and the old dragon were all waiting for him. Qiao Yingluo hurried forward, her face full of anticipation. "Big brother Jiang, how was your talk with Sister Xiao? It was fine." Jiang Tian didn't mention the situation just now, lest it add to the little girl's worries. He patted her head and said gently, "But I want to hunt some demon beasts for cultivation resources. Are you willing to come along? This is Sister Xiao's test for you, isn't it?" Beside him, Qiao Yingluo smiled innocently. "Jade Well Peak's test is very strict. You have to complete some missions to be qualified to join. Although Sister Xiao and I have known each other since we were young, she's a strict and old-fashioned person. I'm afraid she won't open the back door for you. But it doesn't matter. As long as we complete the mission, you'll have a place when you return." Jiang Tian smiled faintly and didn't comment. His vision wasn't limited to Jade Well Peak at all. His goal was to defeat the Heavenly Palace and control this subdimension. However, this place was rich in cultivation resources. Jiang Tian didn't need to kill his way to their door now. It wasn't a bad idea to find some cultivation resources to improve his cultivation first. "Immortal Master Jiang, it's very simple to complete the mission. There's a mission hall in Demon Cave Mountain," Qiao Beishan said. "The mission hall regularly publishes bounty missions. There's a brief introduction of the demon beasts, their location, cultivation level, attack power, and so on. Many demon beasts are not only powerful in battle, but also have intelligence and dermic powers. They can even set up concealment arrays to avoid the divine senses of golden core cultivators. Let alone kill them, they might not even be able to find them. But it's different with the mission hall. We just need to follow the map. Also, I heard that a lot of demon beasts have appeared recently. The rewards must be very generous." The stinky monkey rubbed his hands. Then I'll go now." Jiang Tian nodded. "I'll go too." The Qiao brothers and the stinky monkey said almost simultaneously. The few of them left the Jade Well Mountain and rode on a white gigantic back eagle together, flying towards a mountain more than 30 li away. This mountain peak was called the Great Yang Peak, and there was a continuous stretch of palaces on top of it. Other than the core mission hall, there were also many taverns, casinos, markets, and even brothels. From time to time, there would be cultivators riding falcons, red-crowned cranes, and so on. There were also some Foundation establishment cultivators riding on flying swords. Spring fragrance brothel. The vermilion door was made of green bricks and tiles, and a red light hung high above. Upstairs, an enchanting woman stuck half of her body out and waved a red handkerchief. She laughed tenderly and said, "Little brother, come up and play." There were also some women hugging pipa as they leaned against the window. Half of their faces were covered as they gently played the pipa. "What are we playing? City people are so strange. They're so passionate. I'm not used to it." Qiao Beishan was confused. Qiao Yingluo blushed and glanced at Jiang Tian. She saw that Jiang Tian's face was as calm as still water and did not move. The little girl sighed in her heart. Immortal Master Jiang was a person who had achieved Dao and was different from ordinary people. The stinky monkey only looked up at the enchanting woman, but his soul seemed to have left his body. His eyes were dull and he was drooling like a fly rubbing its hands. He smiled and said, "Since they're so passionate, it must be fun. When I finish the mission and get a lot of crystals, I'll go and play with them. I'll be rich." "Stinky monkey, you've learned bad things." Qiao Yingluo's face turned even redder. She pulled the stinky monkey's ear and said coquettishly, "Those women have all cultivated the fox seduction technique. Not only will they empty your wallet, but they'll also empty your body." The stinky monkey felt pain and his eyes instantly became clear. He said weakly, "What are you thinking? I just wanted to wash my feet." The gigantic back eagle was in front of the mission hall. Everyone got off the eagle and went to the mission hall. There was a stream of people and it was very lively. Many cultivators and experts had gathered. Some of them were wearing animal skin hunting clothes and carrying long swords. They were rough and powerful. Some were wearing Daoist robes and holding horsetail whisks. Their auras were otherworldly. Some were wearing black masks and looked like hibernating poisonous snakes. Their temperaments were obscure and cold. Some received hunting missions, some paid for missions, and some formed groups of 3 or 5 to invite each other to form a team. These missions are jointly issued by the main forces of the Demon Cave Mountain. There will be 5 crystals as a reward. Although it was Qiao Yingluo's first time here, she had heard a lot of information about this place. She was excited, but then she rolled her eyes at the stinky monkey. Some cultivators who received a lot of rewards are stupid because they have too much money. They go around and give money to those foxes. The stinky monkey said gloomily, "Don't mention this, I was just thinking about it." So the so-called mission is to pay crystals in exchange for a demon beast distribution map. Qiao Beishan looked at the introduction hanging on the wall and touched his chin. Moreover, this mission is quite expensive. The lowest level 1-star mission requires 100,000 spar. "Little brother, are you new to the Demon Cave Mountain? Is there anything I can help with?" At this time, a young man dressed as a waiter came over and asked with a smile. "Yes, I just joined the Jade Well Peak." Qiao Beishan returned the greeting with a smile. "Little brother, the mission hall is private. Of course, it has to make money." The waiter said with a smile. "It's very simple to issue missions. Can be completely free, but the key is that we provide detailed information. For example, the number of demonic beasts, their level of combat strength, their division, habits, weaknesses, physical condition, whether they have been injured, and so on. This information is very useful to cultivators and can greatly increase the success rate of hunting. We bought this information from cultivators who have fought with the demons at a high price. It's not like we don't have any capital, so of course we have to make money." "I see. This means that even if we can't kill the demon beast, as long as we can get useful information, we can exchange it for money?" Qiao Beishan asked. "That's right." The waiter smiled. Moreover, according to the characteristics of the demon beast, the mission hall has also given suggestions for forming teams. For example, the ratio of meat shield type, healing type, battle type, divine ability type, close combat type, and long-range attack type cultivators, and even the best cultivation level is clearly stated. Our service can be said to be very good. So your money is well spent. 100,000 low-grade crystals, that's too expensive. Qiao Beishan was speechless and felt the pinch. All his assets added together were not that much. He had spent so much money without even seeing the demon beast. It was really too depressing. "Don't worry about that, we also provide loan services." The waiter smiled and said, "You only need to mortgage your sex token here, and you will be able to obtain a low-interest loan. For example, you can take a 1-star mission. Spend 100,000 crystals and 10 days later, you only need to pay us 11,000 crystals. But how much is the reward for a 1-star mission? 1 million. You'll earn almost 10 times. That's not bad. Qiao Beishan's eyes lit up. He was very tempted. Isn't that so? Demon Cave Mountain is known as the adventurer's paradise. So many people have made a fortune here. Countless tycoons and millionaires have been born here. The waiter smiled and bewitched. What if I fail the mission and can't pay back the loan? The stinky monkey rolled his eyes and had the idea of fleecing. Those who fleeced are all dead. Qiao Yingluo pouted and smiled. Do you think they're kind people who eat people without spitting out the bones? It's said that 3 years ago, a Foundation establishment cultivator borrowed money to take a 3-star mission. In the end, the mission failed and he was seriously injured. They directly took away his wife and daughter and put them under house arrest. This cultivator was forced to help them kill demon beasts for 3 years, and he's still killing them now. Little girl, don't talk nonsense. The waiter said seriously. We're doing business after all, we can't lose money. What house arrest? That cultivator's wife and daughter were treated like guests by us and didn't suffer at all. Immortal Master Zhang, what mission should we take? The stinky monkey's heart was in a mess. He couldn't make up his mind with high risks and high rewards. Take the 10-star mission Blackwater Lake Hunt. Jiang Tian raised his hand and pointed as he slowly said. As soon as those words were spoken, the crowd became solemn. Everyone looked at Jiang Tian with faces full of disbelief. Then there was a buzz like a group of flies being startled and everyone whispered to each other. Blackwater Lake Hunt 10-star mission. It said that there are 4 demon beasts with Foundation establishment combat power guarding it. I heard that some time ago a 3rd-level Foundation establishment elder of Jinsong Peak, Jiang Hailang, died there. He was eaten by the blue-eyed toad until only half of his body was left. There's such a thing. The peak master of Jinsong Peak, Jiang Haishan, personally took action and fought with the demon beasts for 6 hours. He didn't gain the slightest advantage and I heard that he was seriously injured. When he returned to the peak, he ordered that from now on, all disciples have to take a detour. The Blackwater Lake is located at the foot of Jinsong Peak. Those toads often jump up and eat the people of Jinsong Peak, causing them to have to go in and out from the back door. Sigh, Jiang Shanhai has been wise all his life, but he's afraid of being blocked by a few toads. Speaking of which, it's really depressing. You can't say that the people of Jiang Shanhai are cowards. Those blue-eyed toads have very powerful dermic powers. If you go over, you'll die in minutes. That's right, I heard from my ancestors that the biggest blue-eyed toad was the Mount of the Great Demon by Zhe a few hundred years ago. The Blackwater Lake belongs to the territory of the Great Demon by Zhe. Who dares to provoke it? If it alarms the Great Demon by Zhe, it'll be over. For a moment, everyone thought that Jiang Tian was a shameless idiot who actually dared to challenge the Blackwater Lake's hunting mission. Chapter 893. Seeing that Jiang Tian had chosen this mission, the shop assistant was also shocked. Then he smiled bitterly. Little brother, let me remind you that this mission can only be completed by a mid-stage Foundation establishment cultivator. In Demon Cave Mountain, this mission is called an impossible mission. It's very dangerous. I know, Jiang Tian said calmly. Immortal Master Jiang, this mission costs 1,000,005 essence crystals. We don't have that much money. Qiao Beishan pulled Jiang Tian to the side and said awkwardly. You can borrow it. The shop assistant came over like a ghost and said with a smile. How about this? We don't need to buy their information. We can just kill them. Jiang Tian said indifferently. How can we do that? Immortal Master Jiang, you must be careful. The stinky monkey was so scared that he almost jumped up. At this moment, the shop assistant came over and smiled. I'm afraid you'll be eaten alive if you try to sneak in without knowing anything. Besides, if you don't have enough money to buy the information, you won't be able to accept the mission. Even if you kill those blue-eyed toads, you won't be able to exchange them for the mission reward. That's 10,000,005 essence crystals. How do you know the uses of those blue-eyed toads? If I kill them and refine them into pills, I'll get more than 10,000,005 essence crystals. Jiang Tian glanced at him lazily and sneered. Good words can't persuade a damned fool. Since you want to die, I won't stop you. The shop assistant flicked his sleeves and left. Immortal Master Jiang, are we really going? The stinky monkey was bewildered. This matter was too dangerous. Fellow Daoist Jiang, what you said makes sense. Why spend 1,000,005 essence crystals to buy information? With me here there's no need at all. At this moment, a hearty laugh sounded. A cultivator in a dirty Daoist robe walked over with a majestic gait. He carried a huge sword on his back and a small pouch on his waist. His appearance was strange and he had horns on his head. His mouth was wide like a shark's and his face was as dark as charcoal. He had a large beard that was hard and thick and each strand was as stiff as a steel brush. He looked extraordinarily valiant and domineering. He was very rough and heroic, just like Yen Qixia and Ye Xian. Giant Sword Sect Cultivator. And there are 5 huge swords in his chest. He's an elder. You're right. This is the elder of the Giant Sword Sect, one of the 9 sects, Daoist Graphite. 4th level of Foundation establishment. That's right. This person is very powerful. He is of the same generation as the Heavenly Star Palace's Palace Master, Heaven and Earth Taoist, Li Longyuan. Seeing this, everyone's eyes were filled with dread. They opened up a path for Daoist Graphite to pass. Jiang Tian stopped, glanced at him and said, "Fellow Daoist, what advice do you have for me?" "Actually, Grandpa Daoist has also accepted a mission to kill that blue-eyed toad, but I need a few companions." Daoist Graphite said haughtily, "Why don't we team up? After this is done I'll give you 1,000,005 essence crystals. Grandpa Daoist is at the 4th level of Foundation establishment. I'm confident that I can kill those toads. You just need to take care of my food and lodging for a few days and help me kill a few small monsters. If you're sensible and obedient, I'll bring you into the Giant Sword Sect. I'll personally guide you on the Supreme Sword Path." Some people looked at Jiang Tian with envy, whispering to each other and discussing spiritedly. "This is a sure-win deal. That's right. What a great opportunity. I can train with Graphite Immortal Master and even have the chance to become his disciple." After Daoist Graphite finished speaking, he stood there arrogantly, as if waiting for Jiang Tian to kowtow and express his gratitude. "Daoist Master Jiang, accept it. What a good opportunity." The stinky monkey winked. "That's the Giant Sword Sect." Even Qiao Yingluo was excited. The Giant Sword Sect, one of the 9 sects, was second only to the Heavenly Star Palace. If they could become a disciple it would be a great opportunity. However, Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said, "I'm sorry. I'm not interested. Find someone else." With that he walked away. "Daoist Master Jiang, why don't you reconsider?" Qiao Yingluo and the others were stunned. They couldn't believe it and didn't understand, but they still followed him. "Grandpa Daoist gave you a chance but you didn't cherish it." Daoist Graphite's face turned cold. He flicked his sleeves and said disdainfully, "You're just a few insignificant martial artists. How dare you challenge the Blackwater Lake hunting mission? You're courting death." "Daoist Master Jiang, why didn't you agree?" Qiao Yingluo asked, puzzled. Although Qiao Beishan and the stinky monkey didn't say it explicitly, their faces were full of regret and disappointment. They seemed to have some resentment towards Jiang Tian. According to him, he clearly has the ability to complete the mission alone. Why did he bring us along? Is there such a good thing in the world? Jiang Tian asked. "You mean?" Qiao Yingluo frowned. "Also, he's an elder of the Giant Sword Sect. Why didn't he have any disciples accompanying him?" Jiang Tian asked again. "Well, maybe he likes to be free and didn't bring any disciples." Qiao Yingluo thought for a while and said, "I heard that although his cultivation is strong, it seems that all his disciples have died," the stinky monkey suddenly said. "According to my guess, this person likes to use his teammates as bait or meat shields." Jiang Tian said lightly, "I just found out that the cloth bag at his waist smelled of blue magpie grass." "Oh, blue magpie grass? It's said that it's specially used to control toads. You'll collapse after eating it." The stinky monkey's cultivation was low, but he was very proficient in all kinds of poisons. "I understand now." Qiao Yingluo slapped her thigh and exclaimed, "That blue-eyed toad is very intelligent. If Daoist Graphite hastily threw out the blue magpie grass to poison it, the blue-eyed toad wouldn't eat it. So he would let us bring the blue magpie grass and let the blue-eyed toad eat us while swallowing the blue magpie grass. Then he could—" Qiao Yingluo was so shocked that her face turned pale. She said in a trembling voice, looking at his heroic and detached appearance, "I thought he was a Daoist master." I never expected him to be so vicious. The reason why I don't have any disciples is probably related to this, Zhang Tian said lightly. Using disciples as bait, isn't that a little too despicable? Yi Tianren, who had been silent, suddenly frowned. This is the cultivation world. Cruel and heartless. The so-called immortals don't have much higher moral standards. They're even more despicable. Zhang Tian's eyes flashed with a trace of vicissitudes. He shook his head and sighed. Zhang Tian had cultivated for 10,000 years and had seen many cultivation civilizations. He had also seen all kinds of cultivators. There were many who would rather die than themselves. There were countless cultivators who would shift the blame to others. Moreover, in battle many cultivators loved to deceive the people closest to them. It was often the most common situation for a master to cheat a disciple and a disciple to cheat a master. Because the other party was unguarded, the success rate was the highest. There were also those who used the other party as a furnace and used them to refine pills. Could be said to be inhumane. Are we going to the Blackwater Lake now? Qiao Yingluo asked. No. There's no hurry, we still need to buy a few things. Zhang Tian said lightly, I'm afraid we won't have time until tomorrow. They returned to Jadewell Peak. It was already very late, so they settled down first. Chu Yunxia was extremely disgusted with Zhang Tian and assigned him a small and airless guest room. The people living next to it were all handymen, cooks and the like. This woman is too much. Yi Tianren frowned and was about to flare up. Sister Xiu, what's the matter, I'll ask. Qiao Yingluo was also very dissatisfied and wanted to reason with her. Forget it. Rest early. But Zhang Tian didn't care. He washed up hastily and rested for the night. The next morning, Zhang Tian ate a simple meal and immediately brought a few people to the Jade Well Trading Company. Mr. Zhang, I heard from the mission hall that you were going to the Blackwater Lake to hunt blue-eyed toads. Why are you back? Coincidentally, Chu Yunxia was here to inspect and check the accounts. When she saw Zhang Tian, she immediately sneered and asked. Yesterday, she deliberately arranged Zhang Tian to stay at the handyman disciple's residence. But he didn't have the slightest reaction. The strong cultivators were all arrogant and couldn't be offended. How could they be as easy to bully as Zhang Tian? It could be seen that this person was simply a waste. The news spread so quickly. Maybe she deliberately inquired about him. Zhang Tian muttered secretly. Do you have butterfly-leafed mugwort, purple-striped radish vine and purple toad oil? Zhang Tian couldn't be bothered with her and asked a shop assistant. Purple toad oil is available. But purple-striped radish vine and butterfly-leafed mugwort can be seen everywhere. They're very cheap, so we don't sell them. You can just go outside and find some. The little shop assistant said lazily. Immortal Master Zhang, what do you want these for? Do you want to use them to kill blue-eyed toads? Chu Yunxia said mockingly. Zhang Tian ignored her and said, Give us a big jar of purple toad oil. Bashan, you pay for it. With that he walked out quickly. Brother Zhang Tian, wait for me. Qiao Yingluo originally wanted to talk to Chu Yunxia about Zhang Tian, but seeing Zhang Tian leave in a hurry, she could only stomp her feet and follow him out. This girl has been bewitched by the devil. She must be cheated of money and sex. To kill blue-eyed toads, is she playing house? Looking at Qiao Yingluo's back, Chu Yunxia snorted disdainfully. Chapter 894. At this time Zhang Tian had already come to a short mountain at the foot of Jadewell Peak. He used his divine senses to search for butterfly-leafed mugwort and purple-striped wisteria. However, the good thing was that there was indeed a lot of butterfly-leafed mugwort and purple-striped wisteria. Zhang Tian quickly found a large pile. At this time, Qiao Beishan also rushed over with a bucket full of purple toad oil and shouted. Brother Zhang, I bought it. This thing only costs 10 crystals. Can it be used to kill blue-eyed toads? Blue-eyed toads like to live in places where mosquito beasts live. This thing is used to kill mosquito beasts. Zhang Tian said. Once those mosquito beasts are nourished by that spiritual item and mutated, I'm afraid they'll be even more terrifying than the blue-eyed toads. And there are so many of them that we can't kill them all. We can only use the butterfly-leafed mugwort smoke screen to block them. Mosquito beasts? What's that? Qiao Yingluo and the rest were confused. They had never heard of it. Zhang Tian just smiled and couldn't be bothered to explain. In fact, Zhang Tian's goal wasn't the blue-eyed toads at all, but something more important. Something that gave birth to a super demon beast like the blue-eyed toads. But this knowledge was too ancient and mysterious. Qiao Yingluo and the rest probably couldn't understand it at all. Little brother, you're going to kill the blue-eyed toads? At this time a cold voice suddenly sounded and a figure leaped over like a light bird. This woman was wearing a moon-white Daoist robe. Her chest was high, her waist was slender and her figure was graceful. She came over gracefully like a spring flower shining on water. Only a layer of gauze covered her face and her true face couldn't be seen. Yes. Jiang Tian nodded. Then why don't you team up with us? The woman said coldly. This time we have many prodigies and the reward is generous. Sure. The stinky monkey immediately jumped up. Although this woman's face was covered by a white gauze, just by the white skin and sharp chin exposed, one could tell that she was definitely a stunning beauty. Jiang Tian glared at the stinky monkey. The latter stuck out his tongue. Jiang Tian did not reply. He found a wooden stick and tied the butterfly-leafed mugwort onto it with purple striped wisteria. He soaked it in purple toad oil for a while before handing it over. Since you look good, I'll sell it to you at a cheap price. If you can stop the mosquito beasts, just give me 100,000 low-grade 5-1 crystal stones. These days Qiao Yingluo was the one paying for all the food and entertainment. Although Jiang Tian was carefree and unrestrained, he still felt that it was inconvenient sometimes. It was better to earn some money. As the name implied, the purple toad oil was extracted from the corpse oil of a type of purple toad that was roasted to a crisp. It also contained numerous toxins and had a fishy and pungent smell. What are you doing? The masked woman immediately retreated a few steps. When she recalled Jiang Tian's words, she covered her mouth and nose with her fair and delicate hands and teased, "You greedy thief, these things only add up to a few crystal stones. You want to sell them to me for 100,000 crystal stones? Do you think I'm a fool? Brother Jiang Tian, this woman is not easy to fool. We have to find someone like my brother." Qiao Yingluo tugged at Jiang Tian's sleeve and whispered, "Sister, your brother. Do I look stupid?" Qiao Beishan was so depressed that he stomped his feet. Jiang Tian said calmly, "You're such a beautiful fairy. If you want to kill the blue-eyed toads, you'll definitely encounter the mosquito beasts. Without this thing you'll definitely be at a disadvantage. You'll be sucked until you're all skin and bones. Then you won't be beautiful anymore." Although the masked woman felt that Jiang Tian was lying to her, she couldn't help but feel a little happy when Jiang Tian praised her beauty. She snorted and smiled faintly. "All right, greedy little liar, don't try to cheat me. You're so young and so handsome. Instead of walking the right path you want to cheat me. Be careful or I'll spank you. Be careful or I'll spank you." This was Qing'er's favorite catchphrase. Her voice was soft and somewhat similar to Qing'er's. Jiang Tian was stunned for a moment, and his eyes revealed deep longing and depression. The masked beauty saw that Jiang Tian's clothes were strange and exposed his arms and legs. He must be a low-level errand boy who didn't even have suitable clothes and looked like a fool. She couldn't help but pity him. She smiled bitterly and said, "Look at how poorly you're dressed. You must be a child from a poor family. I'll give you some crystals. Hurry up and go home." With that she reached out and grabbed Jiang Tian's hand. She slapped a bag of 5 essence crystals into Jiang Tian's hand and floated away. Damn, although I didn't succeed, being treated as a beggar is still a source of income. It's easy to earn money outside. Smelly Monkey opened the bag and smiled with exultation. This is a mid-grade 5 essence crystal. One is equivalent to 100 low-grade 5 essence crystal. There are dozens of them, which is equivalent to a few thousand crystals. It seems that we're not the only ones who want to kill the blue-eyed toads. Yi Tianren said worriedly. Also, that woman's aura was so strong. I'm afraid she's at the Foundation Establishment level. Foundation Establishment level. That means she can be on the prodigy roll. Qiao Beishan and the other two exclaimed. Look at her Daoist robe. She should be from the Heartless sect. She can't be Fairy Miao Yi. She's my idol. Qiao Yingluo said with a look of fascination. Those who reached the Foundation Establishment level before the age of 30 were all prodigies. In the Heavenly Star Small World there was a prodigy roll. Those who could be on it were all amazing people. And Fairy Miao Yi was ranked 5th on the prodigy roll. There were only a few people in front of him, including the Daozi of Xianxia. Who cares? Anyway, other than us no one can kill the blue-eyed toads. Jiang Tian smiled disdainfully and continued to look for butterfly-leafed mugwort and purple-striped wisteria to make more torches. Seeing that Jiang Tian's job was very simple, Qiao Yingluo thought for a while and returned to Yujing Peak to find Chu Yunxiu. Sister Yunxiu, brother Jiang is really amazing. Can you arrange a better job for him? Qiao Yingluo begged. It's too unfair for him to live in such a bad place. Don't worry, being a servant disciple is only temporary. I'll arrange a suitable position for him, Chu Yunxiu said. Alright. Qiao Yingluo had no choice. Do you like him? Chu Yunxiu suddenly asked. No way. Are you kidding me? I treat him as an elder and respect him as a big brother. Qiao Yingluo averted her eyes and blushed. You have to choose carefully. Those from Earth are all weak. They're not worthy of you. Chu Yunxiu smiled. I think Huang Zhizhong, the son of Hall Master Huang Biao, is very good. He's now a senior shopkeeper and will be a hall master in 10 years. I still have things to do, I'll leave first. Qiao Yingluo fled. What are you going to do? Are you really going to hunt blue-eyed toads? Chu Yunxiu asked with a smile but didn't stop her. In her opinion, Jiang Tian was wandering around just to avoid her, afraid that she would expose his true colors. Even if Jiang Tian really went to the Blackwater Lake, he would probably be defeated in minutes. This would also let Qiao Yingluo see his true colors. The starry sky was dark and miasma filled the sky. That night, Jiang Tian and the others who were fully prepared, rode a white giant back eagle and flew in the direction of the Blackwater Lake under the faint sky. Although they had to bypass some spiritual tides, thunder and lightning storms, and the nests of demon beasts and birds. But the Blackwater Lake was only a few dozen kilometers away from Yujing Peak, and the giant back eagle was extremely fast. So it only took them 2 hours to arrive. At the foot of Jinsong Peak, there was a lake with a radius of 20 kilometers, and the black lake water was as thick as ink. The lake water had a demonic smell, and from time to time, there were bursts of black gas rising into the sky, and the stench was unpleasant. The surrounding trees not only didn't wither but were even more exuberant. They were much taller than ordinary trees, but there was a bit of evil in them. In the dim light, huge branches stretched to the sky like a devil's palm, covering the sky and the sun. Sure enough, it was as Yi Tianren had guessed. There were already a lot of people gathered here. There were hundreds of cultivators and warriors. The cultivators were basically at the qi refinement level, while the warriors were basically at the transformative realm or even the divine realm. There were monks, Daoists and laymen. They were in groups of 3 or 5, each occupying a position, sitting or standing by the bonfire. It seemed that they came from different sects and forces. Boom. Jiang Tian's divine sense pushed out like a tide and instantly covered the entire Blackwater Lake. He immediately determined the best position, raised his hand and pointed. Land there. Whoosh. The giant back eagle landed on the ground. After they landed, they found that the surroundings were covered in black mud, and there were many human and demon beast skeletons. It was a ghastly sight. Fortunately, Jiang Tian and the others landed on a meadow, so it wasn't so dirty. Were these killed by those blue-eyed toads? Qiao Yingluo frowned, her eyes full of fear. Just a few toads, what's there to be afraid of? Can you kill them with a raise of your hand? Jiang Tian smiled indifferently. He said that the blue-eyed toads are toads that can be killed with a raise of his hand? Oh my god, that's a demon beast in the late Foundation establishment stage. Maybe it has already formed a demon core. Shameless boasting, the ignorant are fearless. They're just a few warriors. They're short-sighted and don't know the horror of the blue-eyed toads. As soon as this remark came out, many cultivators looked at Jiang Tian as if they were looking at a lunatic, and some even sneered. Baiyun, go outside and wait for us. When you hear my whistle, come and greet us immediately. Seeing that Jiang Tian was so calm, Qiao Yingluo felt a little relieved and patted the giant back eagle's head. The giant back eagle had gained some intelligence. It nodded and let out a cry before flying off into the distance. Immortal Master Jiang, do you really have the confidence to kill these toads? Have you killed them before? The stinky monkey was a little worried. Yes, and I've killed a lot of them. Once this thing finds its Mingmen, it can even kill a warrior. Wait, just listen to my command. Jiang Tian smiled indifferently. This blue-eyed toad was very common in the cultivation world. In fact, it was more accurate to call it a 3-eyed toad. Its third eye was on the top of its head and was usually closed. It would only open when its body was about to explode. But this third eye was also where its Mingmen was. The blue-eyed toad was covered in poisonous lumps all over its body and was indestructible. If one only relied on brute force to kill a third-level Foundation Establishment toad, it would probably take a cultivator in the late Foundation Establishment stage. But as long as they found its Mingmen, they would be able to kill even Qiao Ying Luo. Chapter 895. This was Jiang Tian's advantage. His powerful cultivation base and heaven-defying techniques were only one aspect. More importantly, his experience far exceeded anyone else's. He could be said to be the encyclopedia of the cultivation world. This person can really brag. He has also killed many blue-eyed toads. As far as I know, blue-eyed toads are extremely difficult to breed. It seems that there are only a few of them in Star World. For 100 years, no blue-eyed toad has been successfully hunted. This is just to pick up girls. He's just bluffing. Many cultivators saw this and laughed lightly, thinking that Jiang Tian was a lecher who seduced young girls. These cultivators by the lake were only whispering. What shameless boasting. With your insignificant cultivation base, you can't even withstand a single blow. How can you kill blue-eyed toads? But a voice that was like a large bell and full of sarcasm came from the sky. A huge white swan appeared in the distant sky, flapping its wings and gliding over rapidly. This white swan was snow-white, and its feathers were as if carved from white jade. It was incomparably majestic and its pair of wings were 30 meters long. It looked like a Boeing passenger plane. Compared to the white swan, the giant back eagle suddenly paled in comparison, revealing a bit of shabbiness and coarseness. On the back of the white swan, there was an exquisite pavilion. White jade walls, green jade tiles, gold railings and pearls were the lamps. Under the faint starlight, it emitted a bright and dazzling light. This pavilion was not only extremely luxurious, but it was also carved with exquisite Dao patterns. It was made by a mighty Foundation Establishment stage cultivator and contained powerful magical power fluctuations that could withstand several attacks from a golden core powerhouse. Above the pavilion, a large flag embroidered with gold and silver fluttered in the wind. Written on it was a bold and domineering word. Jiang. Young Peak Master Jiang and the others are here. Quickly welcome them. Many cultivators on the ground saw this and scrambled to stand up. They straightened their clothes and stood with their hands by their sides, revealing respectful and nervous expressions. This ride is simply too cool. It would be great if we could get one someday. When Qiao Beishan saw this, his face was filled with envy and his saliva flowed out. In this world, the white swan was much more luxurious and valuable than the giant-backed eagle. Adding on this pavilion, its value would probably reach 10 million crystals. A commoner like him wouldn't even dare to think about it. Stop looking, this is Jiang Yunhe's ride. If you anger them it will be very troublesome. At the side, the smelly monkey's pupils constricted as he said in a trembling voice. Jiang Yunhe was at the first layer of the Foundation Establishment realm. His strength was unparalleled and he was considered an outstanding figure among the younger generation of the Devil Cave Mountain. He was almost invincible. Moreover, he was the son of Golden Pine Peak's Peak Master. In Demon Cave Mountain his words carried enormous weight. Who would dare to provoke him? Whoosh. Bai Luan landed on the ground and saw a group of 5 people, 3 men and 2 women fully armed. Under the escort of many experts, they walked over with majestic gait. Immediately many of the cultivators who were waiting went up and kowtowed. The person in the lead was in his 20s. He was dressed in snow-white clothes and had sword-like eyebrows. His face was handsome and feminine, but his eyes were gloomy and his lips were slightly thin. He gave off a harsh and emotionless feeling. It's really him, Jiang Yunhe. The smelly monkey's pupils constricted as he looked behind him. It was a handsome monk in white robes. He was tall and heroic and he held a staff with red prayer beads hanging from it. This monk was also in his 20s. He had a benevolent appearance and was extraordinarily mighty. However, when his eyes opened and closed, there was lightning lingering around them. It was obvious that he had a lightning attribute cultivation technique. This should be Monk de Exen of the Demon Suppressing Temple. The Demon Suppressing Temple is one of the 3 major sects, second only to the Heavenly Star Palace. It seems that he has already cultivated the Demon Suppressing Lightning technique. Qiao Beishan looked at the monk with a face of worship. He was so excited that his body trembled slightly. The other man was dressed in black with a ripple embroidered on his chest. His face was pale and he was arrogant, giving off a feeling of arrogance and domineering. He was the one who had just ridiculed Jiang Tian. It seems to be the son of the Jishui Peak Master Wu Tengying. Someone in the crowd said in horror. So it's him. The smelly monkey's face flashed with fear and he did not dare to look him in the eye. It was said that this Wu Tengying not only had the cultivation of the first level of foundation establishment, but also had a fierce temper and killed people at the slightest provocation. Even if the mayor of Qingyang town saw him, he would have to avoid him. Among the two women, one of them was about 18 or 19 years old. She was dressed in black and she was tall with a high chest and a slender waist. There was a mischievous smile at the corner of her mouth, giving off a mischievous feeling. She had a purple gold bell wrapped around her snow-white wrists and ankles. When she walked, it jingled and made a crisp and pleasant sound. The daughter of the heavenly Star City Lord Ding Ling Dang. It is said that she is a genius and has already reached the second level of foundation establishment. Her strength is even stronger than Sister Chu Yunxiu's. Qiao Yingluo looked at this woman, and her beautiful eyes burst with a ray of worship. Her heart was burning with passion. The other woman was dressed in a plain Daoist robe and was dressed like a nun. She was 16 years old and her face was beautiful, but her eyes were as calm as an ancient well. It was as if nothing in the world was worthy of her attention for a moment. She is the direct disciple of the heartless sect master Fairy Miao Yi. It is said that she is extremely talented and her cultivation is unfathomable. Compared to Ding Ling Dang, her cultivation can only be higher. It's just that she is obsessed with cultivation and does not care about worldly affairs. She rarely fights, so her exact cultivation is unknown. As soon as this was said, the crowd was silent. The heartless sect's strength was on par with the heavenly star palace. As the successor of the heartless sect master and the eldest disciple of the sect master, Fairy Miao Yi was even more highly regarded. It was said that when she was born, an auspicious sign descended from the heavens. Within a radius of 10 miles, spiritual energy formed a vortex and poured into her body. Obviously, her physique was very special and was a rare spiritual body. Among the younger generation, she was known as an outstanding talent. Whether in terms of cultivation or status, she was far superior to Ding Ling Dang, Jiang Feishuan, Chu Yunxiu, and other female cultivators of the same generation. It was said that back then the Heavenly Star Palace Master Li Longyuan's son, Qing Shendozi, had the intention of marrying Fairy Miao Yi. But in the end, it was left unsettled as if he had been rejected. Jiang Tian chuckled. This woman was the Daoist nun who had refused to sell him the torch. Although the white veil covering her face was a magic weapon, how could it hide from Jiang Tian's soul-devouring divine sense? Today I'll have to trouble everyone to help me get rid of the blue-eyed toad. At this time Jiang Yunhe looked around and spoke in a clear voice. As long as there is merit, this young master will definitely reward heavily. Even 1,000,005 essence crystals is not a problem. But that demon core cannot be embezzled. Understood. This demon core should be a gift for your fiancé Chu Yunxiu. This blue-eyed toad is said to have existed since the birth of this continent and has a lifespan of more than 1,500 years. Obtaining the demon core and refining it into a great medicine, it really has endless benefits. Yes, I'm afraid it can push Miss Yunxiu to the middle stage of foundation establishment. Young Master Jiang is heroic. Everyone started to flatter him one after another. Jiang Yunhe smiled awkwardly and said in his heart, how could Chu Yunxiu have the qualifications to enjoy this kind of medicinal pill? He can at most be my concubine. This demon core is for Ding Ling Dang. However, this Ding Ling Dang was also extremely arrogant and ignored him. If not for the fact that she was poisoned and injured while hunting demonic beasts and urgently needed this blue-eyed toad's demon core to heal, she wouldn't have bothered with him. But there was nothing he could do about it. After all, she was the daughter of Tianxing City's city lord. However, all the hardships were worth it. As long as he could pursue her, then his future would be bright. Thinking of this, his heart was burning with passion. He cupped his fists and said, everyone, don't worry so much. Everyone, act according to the established plan. For this operation, Jiang Yunhe had planned for a long time and spent a lot of money to gather talents and elites from all sides. Moreover, he formulated a detailed strategy. At the rear, there were formation experts who set up 3 defensive formations as their base camp. On the shore about a kilometer away from the defensive formation, there was a huge pit with the rainstorm chaotic blade formation, a heaven-burning fire formation, and a winter solstice ice formation. Each of the three formations consumed millions of 5 essence crystals as formation materials, and dozens of formation refining experts painstakingly created them for 3 months. The 3 formations were superimposed and the power increased tenfold. Could be said that every step was full of killing intent and was extremely dangerous. Even a golden core stage expert might not be able to withstand it. In addition, he also mobilized dozens of refinement stage experts from Jin Songfeng to carry heaven-shaking crossbows and be responsible for long-range attacks. The most important thing was, Fairy Miao Yi and Monk de Exen, who were invited to help this time, were outstanding figures among their peers. Their combat power was unparalleled. Sister Lingdang, if you get the demon core and refine it, it will definitely cure the fire poison in your body. Jiang Yunhe was quite confident. This battle could be said to be foolproof. He said with exultation. Young Peak Master Jiang, thank you. After it's done, I'll definitely treat you to a drink. Ding Lingdang smiled mischievously, her beautiful eyes looking at him. Hearing that, Qiao Yinglue was dumbfounded and her heart was filled with shock and anger. He's hunting for the demon core for Miss Ding. Not for Sister Yunxiu. He's already Sister Yunxiu's fiancé. Sister Yunxiu also longed to meet him, but he avoided her and even tried to curry favor with someone else. They're only martial artists, why are they here? Please ask them to leave so that they won't be affected. At that moment, Fairy Miao Yi's gaze landed on Jiang Tian and the rest. Her beautiful face changed slightly, and she gently opened her red lips to remind them. Wu Tengang, chase these bastards away. Jiang Yunhe's gaze landed on Jiang Tian and the rest. He frowned slightly and revealed a look of impatience. Fairy Miao Yi was kind-hearted. Before luring the blue-eyed toads out, she definitely had to ensure that unrelated people were not present. She had repeatedly emphasized this point before participating in the operation. These martial artists don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. With their insignificant cultivation, they still want to kill the blue-eyed toads. Wu Tenggang's face was full of ridicule as he flew towards Jiang Tian and the rest. His posture was arrogant as he roared loudly. Did you hear that? Young Peak Master Jiang ordered you to get lost. Don't be a hindrance here. Qiao Yinglue and the rest were shocked. Stinky Monkey hesitated for a moment, then pulled Jiang Tian's sleeve and whispered. Big brother Jiang, let's go. Anyway, we have nothing to lose, right? Why should we leave? Although Qiao Yinglue was a little unwilling, seeing that the other party had the advantage in numbers and powerhouses like Rain, she was helpless and could only mumble softly. Stinky girl, if you dare to talk nonsense again, I'll slap you to death. Wu Tenggang's triangular eyes shot out a murderous glint as he shouted wildly. Trash, like you have the nerve to make a fool of yourself here. How dare you shout at me? Ignorant ants, don't you know that I can kill you like chickens and dogs? Chapter 896. Wu Tenggang's eyes were arrogant, and he didn't put Jiang Tian and the rest in his eyes. Everyone, including Yi Tianren, exuded the aura of a martial artist. And martial artists were basically ants in this world. Even if they cultivated to the extreme, they couldn't be compared to beginner cultivators. As for Jiang Tian, there wasn't the slightest fluctuation of aura. He was obviously an ordinary person. Why are you so fierce? It's not like your family raised it. Qiao Yinglue was so scared that her face turned pale. She held Jiang Tian's right hand tightly and said in a trembling voice. It's not raised by their family but by Jin Songfeng's Jiang family. Before Wu Tengang could say anything, Jiang Tian opened his mouth slowly. I heard that the Jiang family like Jiang Haibao repeatedly fed themselves to these toads. Last time Jiang Haishan almost fed himself. It's obvious that they treat these toads as their ancestors. Otherwise, how could they feed them with their own flesh and blood? We want to kill their ancestors and they're not even angry. And this Wu guy is obviously the Jiang family's lackey. Under the master's orders, how could he not bite and bark? Dead silence. Once these words came out, the whole place was dead silent. Many noises seemed to be absorbed by a huge sponge and not a drop was left. The huge lakeside became a still picture. Everyone looked at Jiang Tian dumbfoundedly, not daring to believe it. Jiang Tian's words were too vicious. With just one sentence he had humiliated the Jiang clan of Jin Songfeng into a toad. No, to be precise, they were Toad's descendants. Even more clearly, Wu Tengang was a dog. The key was that one shouldn't hit people in the face and one shouldn't expose people's shortcomings. Jin Songfeng's Jiang family suffered heavy casualties because of the blue-eyed toads, and the mountain gate was opened to the back. How tragic. And Jiang Tian just had to use this to talk about it. It was simply rubbing salt on the wound. These words were so poisonous and hurtful. One could imagine how Jiang Yunhe and Wu Tengang could take it. Indeed, with every word that Jiang Tian uttered, Jiang Yunhe's face became a shade gloomier. By the time Jiang Tian finished speaking, Jiang Yunhe's face was already covered in frost. His eyes were filled with frenzied killing intent. However, he did not attack Jiang Tian. No matter what, he was the young master of a peak with a powerful cultivation base and a respected status. If he were to attack a nobody, it would be a laughingstock. However, Wu Tengang had always liked to bully the weak without any scruples. He strode forward, pointed at Jiang Tian and shouted angrily, "Ant, kneel down and kowtow immediately. Otherwise, I'll tear you into pieces." "Young Peak Master Wu, spare my life." When the smelly monkey saw this, he was so scared that his soul almost left his body. Cold sweat flowed down his body, and his knees went soft as he knelt on the ground. Seeing this, Wu Tengang was even more pleased. He laughed sinisterly and said, "Hee, are you afraid now? If you're afraid, kneel down and kowtow like him. I, the young Peak Master, will show mercy and spare your lives." "Wu Dingshan, come back. Don't hurt him." Goddess Miao Yi shouted. "Sister Miao Yi, don't stop him. I think this kid is not simple." Meanwhile, Ding Ling Dang looked at Jiang Tian with interest. Her beautiful eyes were full of curiosity. "Kneel down and kowtow? Sure." Jiang Tian smiled faintly. Suddenly he slammed his palm down. Boom. Vitality chi surged uneasily between heaven and earth, and thunder exploded. A 10-meter-long golden palm descended from the sky and pressed down on Wu Tingshan. Then, Wu Tingshan's expression changed drastically. He was both shocked and frightened. He punched the sky and pressed down on the giant palm. However, it was useless. Crack. Wu Tingshan's entire body was slammed into the mud a few meters deep. His skin and flesh were lacerated and blood flowed out. The crowd fell into dead silence again. Everyone was dumbstruck, looking at Jiang Tian and Wu Tengang in disbelief. Their faces were filled with shock. "Now who's the ant?" Jiang Tian smiled faintly. How is this possible? Didn't you have no cultivation?" Wu Tingshan was covered in mud. He jumped out of the mud pit and said in disbelief, "Whether I have cultivation or not, it's more than enough to torture a weakling like you." Jiang Tian smiled and slapped him again. Smack. Wu Tenggang's cheek was smashed and blood dripped. He was sent flying more than 10 meters away again. "Bastard, I'm going to kill you." Wu Tenggang's face was ferocious. The muscles on his body bulged and a violent aura spread in all directions. He rushed toward Jiang Tian. Smack. Jiang Tian slapped him a few meters away. He said mockingly, "You don't know what's good for you. I swear I'll take revenge on you. I'll skin you alive, eat your flesh and drink your blood." Wu Tengang was burning with anger. He rushed toward Jiang Tian again. At this time his killing intent was wild. In this space he had always bullied others. When had he ever been beaten up so miserably? "Is that so? I'm afraid you won't have the chance." Jiang Tian flicked his finger. A bloody hole appeared in Wu Tingshan's chest and he fell to the ground. At this time his eyes were still wide open. His face was full of shock as if he could not believe that he had died in such a way. "What? He killed Wu Tengang? That's the young peak master of Jishui Peak. He killed a first-stage foundation establishment cultivator with a flick of his finger. This cultivation is too terrifying." Everyone was dumbfounded. They could not believe it and their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. How is this possible? Even Ding Lingdong's face changed drastically. Although she could see that Jiang Tian's cultivation was not ordinary, she did not expect Jiang Tian's cultivation to be so powerful. He killed a first-stage foundation establishment cultivator in an instant. Just how powerful was this person's cultivation? It was simply inconceivable. Fairy Miao Yi's cold face also revealed a look of astonishment. Wasn't this kid just a servant of Jade Well Peak? He even wanted to trick me with the mugwort leaf torch. How could his cultivation be so powerful? The next moment she looked at Jiang Tian with disgust and frowned. Fellow Daoist, we were only advising you to leave this place. How could you kill someone so ruthlessly? Those who humiliate me die. Jiang Tian's words were concise and comprehensive, but they were shocking. Knowing that she was being kind, Jiang Tian could not be bothered with her. Otherwise she would have been dead by now. Everyone was so shocked that their faces turned pale. Where did this young man come from? He was too arrogant. This person has a bad temper and is so ruthless. Ding Ling Dang stuck out her tongue and hid behind Fairy Miao Yi. This is troublesome. I'm afraid Jishui Peak is going to explode. Zen Master de Exin smiled bitterly. Who are you? You arrogant ant. You have repeatedly provoked me, Jin Songfeng, and even dared to kill someone in front of me. Do you want to be my enemy? However, Jiang Tian was enraged. A domineering aura soared into the sky and closed in on Jiang Tian. Everyone knew that Wu Tengying was his underling. Now that Jiang Tian had killed him on the spot, it was a challenge to his supreme dignity. So what if I'm your enemy, Jin Songfeng? I'm just a piece of trash that was eaten by a toad. Jiang Tian laughed loudly. Once these words were spoken, it infuriated everyone present. The smelly monkey was so frightened that he almost cried. One had to know that many of the sect's famous mountains, cities, and families present had been eaten by the blue-eyed toads. Wasn't he calling everyone trash? This guy has such a vicious mouth. Even Ding Ling Dong's face turned cold as she looked at Jiang Tian coldly. Fellow Daoist, which sect are you from? Which famous mountain are you from? What's your name? Zen Master de Exin put his palms together and smiled bitterly. You killed Wu Tengying so mercilessly. We have to give his family an explanation after this. I'm an itinerant cultivator, Daoist Jin Yin. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. I don't belong to any sect. If you want to challenge me, you just have to announce it in the mission hall. His current goal was to suppress the entire hidden sect in the various small worlds. The Dao name that he casually picked was worthy of its name. Daoist suppressing concealment. I've never heard of such a person. Everyone looked at each other. Suppressing concealment? Suppressing the entire hidden sect small world? What arrogance! Zhang Yunhe snorted coldly. Zhang Yunhe, you're not convinced. Come and fight with me. I don't mind teaching you a lesson. Jiang Tian said with disdain. Impudent. Let's attack together. There are so many experts and so many geniuses. Can you handle it? Zhang Yunhe was furious as he gritted his teeth. But in the end he didn't dare to step forward. He was only at the second level of foundation establishment, the same level as Wu Tengying. He really didn't have much confidence facing Jiang Tian. Experts? You guys are also considered experts. How dare you call yourself geniuses? You really know how to flatter yourselves. Who do you think you are? Just dance. Does everyone want to attack together? Come on. I welcome you. Jiang Tian said mockingly. At this moment the smelly monkey had already stood up silently. Seeing Jiang Tian suppressing everyone, he couldn't help but feel proud and shouted loudly, "Yes, come on, let's fight. If you don't dare to fight, then you're a coward." The entire place was dead silent. No one dared to fight. Fairy Miao Yi's expression changed a few times, but she didn't say anything in the end. Fellow Daoist Jiang is so arrogant. You're talking about the trash that was eaten by the blue-eyed toads? A few people from my giant sword sect were also eaten. Are they also trash in your eyes? A thunderous roar descended from the sky, bringing with it endless power. It was like a mountain pressing down, bombarding the black waves and breaking the trees. Martial artists like the smelly monkey and Qiao Beishan almost fainted from the shock. The Qi refinement stage cultivators were on the verge of collapsing as they retreated continuously. Even Ding Ling Dang and Zhang Yunhe, who were at the first or second level of the foundation establishment stage, couldn't withstand it. Their faces were as pale as paper. Only Fairy Miao Yi and Zen Master de Exin remained unmoved. However, they still felt uncomfortable. It's Daoist graphite from the giant sword sect. Zhang Yunhe and the others were trembling from the shock. However, when they looked up at the sky, their faces were filled with joy. They saw Daoist graphite stepping on a broadsword that was like a sampan. It broke through the air, leaving a trail of turbulence in its wake. Kid, aren't you arrogant? If you have the guts, you and Elder Graphite can continue to be arrogant. Wu Tenggang's friends looked at Jiang Tian with ridicule as if they were looking at a dead man. Everyone thought that Jiang Tian would definitely bow his head and admit defeat in front of Daoist graphite. Even if he could kill Wu Tenggang, who was at the first level of the Foundation establishment stage, he didn't have the capital and courage to challenge Daoist graphite. One had to know that Daoist graphite was at the fourth level of the Foundation establishment stage. He was an elder of the Giant Sword sect and an expert on the Heavenly Dao list. Chapter 897. Stinking brat, hurry up and kneel down and beg for mercy. Zhang Yunhe was instantly revived. He was full of arrogance and his face was frivolous as he taunted. Daoist graphite was invited by us to help. You dare to kill our people. Daoist graphite will definitely make sure you die without a complete corpse. In this world, the Heavenly Star Palace, the 3 major sects, the 4 major cities and dozens of large and small forces, among the tens of millions of people, graphite's strength was ranked in the top 500. Who would dare to provoke him? Moreover, the 4th level of Foundation establishment had already crossed a watershed and belonged to the middle stage of Foundation establishment. At most, even if Jiang Tian had the cultivation of the 3rd level of Foundation establishment, he was still only in the early stage of Foundation establishment. Compared to graphite, this cultivation was fundamentally different. It could be said that the difference was thousands of miles and could not be compared. It could be said that if Daoist graphite were to make a move, he could completely crush Jiang Tian. In the cultivation world, the strong were respected and this area was even more lawless. How could Jiang Tian not bow his head and admit defeat? So what if I call you trash? Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian rolled his eyes, sneered and disdainfully said, 4th level of Foundation establishment is amazing. How can a frog at the bottom of a well know the vastness of the world? Hiss. As soon as these words came out, the whole audience gasped. Everyone looked at Jiang Tian as if they were looking at a madman. This brat is crazy. Someone shook his head. Maybe an elite disciple of some small sect just left the mountain and doesn't know how cruel this world is. A Foundation establishment powerhouse that was cultivated with great difficulty doesn't know the dangers of the world. If his parents died, the sect would be heartbroken. Some people looked at Jiang Tian sympathetically and regretfully shook their heads and sighed. This brat could kill a first-level Foundation establishment cultivator in seconds, so he could be considered a talent. But he didn't know the principle of hiding his strength and biding his time. He even dared to disrespect Daoist graphite, so he could only fall here. Qiao Yingluo never thought that Jiang Tian could cause so much trouble. Even when facing a middle-stage Foundation establishment powerhouse, he was still so overbearing. She was so scared that her face was pale and tears rolled down her cheeks. Young Peak Master Jiang, Sister Yunxiu and I are sworn sisters. Please spare Mr. Jiang this time for her sake. Jiang Yunhe didn't even look at Qiao Yingluo and grinned. Alright brat, if you have the guts, continue to be arrogant. I'll see how long you can be arrogant for. Good. You're really crazy. How dare you disrespect me? Stepping on his treasured sword, Daoist graphite arrived above Jiang Tian and the others. Floating high in the air, he threw down the cloth bag containing the blue magpie grass from his waist and said in a cold voice, "Take this backpack and lure those blue-eyed toads out for me. I'll spare your life. Fellow Daoist Jiang, if you lower your head and admit your mistake, I will plead for you in front of Daoist graphite." Fairy Miao Yi hesitated for a moment, then suddenly said with a cold voice. A bitter smile appeared on Daoist graphite's black face as he saw this. His murderous intent slowly receded like a tide. She was the eldest disciple of the Heartless sect and the future sect master. Even though Daoist graphite was an elder of the Giant Sword sect, he still had to give her some face. Everyone's eyes flashed in disbelief. Fairy Miao Yi cultivated the Heartless sword art, so her heart was emotionless and unfettered. She had always rejected people from 1,000 miles away and spoke bluntly. At this moment she spoke up for Jiang Tian. It was clear that she cherished his talent. Thinking about it, it was normal. Jiang Tian looked to be in his 20s, but he could already kill a first-level Foundation establishment cultivator and could be called a prodigy. If such a talent was brought into a large sect and nurtured for 20 years, it wasn't impossible for him to reach the late stage of Foundation establishment. Sigh, I didn't expect Fairy Miao Yi to speak up. This brat's luck is really good. Yeah, his life is saved. If Fairy Miao Yi speaks up, I'm afraid Ji Shuifeng will also have to give face. What are you hesitating for? Hurry up and agree. Remember this lesson in the future. You have to know that there's always someone better out there. Everyone sighed with emotion. Many people thought that Zhang Tian was going to go with the flow. Ox-nosed old thief. You want me to be your bait? You must be tired of living. Hurry up and kneel down and kowtow to me. Unexpectedly, Zhang Tian ignored Fairy Miao Yi's persuasion. He flicked his sleeves and sneered. What a reckless little thief. Since you don't appreciate it, then I'll leave you to fend for yourself. Seeing this, Fairy Miao Yi pursed her lips. Her beautiful eyebrows furrowed and her beautiful face froze. Although this person was extremely talented, he was too arrogant and did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. One had to know that Daoist graphite was not only at the mid-stage of foundation establishment. He was also known to be black-faced, black-hearted, and vicious. Since you offended him today, then wait for your bones to be ground to dust. Originally, when Wu Tengying provoked Zhang Tian, it was also because of her good intentions that made things worse. She still felt a little guilty towards Zhang Tian. But now that she saw Zhang Tian's smug look, she was ashamed and angry. We have such a thing to rely on and he still dares to provoke us. This brat is dead for sure. It saves me the trouble of making a move. After all, I don't have the confidence to win. Jiang Yunhe's lips curled into a mocking smile, as if Zhang Tian could not be more dead. And how dare you? Do you think I can't bear to kill you? Is that why you're so willful? Seeing that Fairy Miao Yi was not involved, Daoist graphite no longer had any scruples. He smiled eerily and his murderous aura soared to the sky. I'll take your corpse and control it with the puppet technique. I can also poison the toad. Suddenly he did a somersault and pounced towards Zhang Tian. Both his palms were pushed towards Zhang Tian. Boom, boom. Daoist graphite was very powerful. When he pushed out his palms, all the demonic qi and miasma spiritual qi within a radius of a few miles were sucked dry. They formed into two giant palms with a radius of 100 meters. They set off a whistling wind and pushed towards Zhang Tian. The huge flying sword was even more terrifying. Under the control of his divine thought, the sharp sword rays continued to split and blossom, increasing in number. In the end, it was like a torrent of sword qi that stretched for dozens of feet across the sky, dragging out streams of white air turbulence as it violently slashed over. Its lethality was enough to destroy a cruiser. Brother Jiang, quickly lower your head and admit your mistake. At this time Qiao Yinglua was so anxious that her tears were flowing. But then she saw an unbelievable scene. Trash. Who gave you the courage to bully the weak? In the face of the monstrous pressure, Zhang Tian was like a cool breeze. He snorted and flicked his finger. Plang. The golden finger ray turned into a dazzling golden light. It was untraceable, like an antelope hanging its horn. It hit the tip of the huge sword at an incredible angle. Under Zhang Tian's finger, the overwhelming sword qi and sword light were like paper. They could not even hold on for a second before they completely shattered. This huge sword, which was made by a master swordsmith and could be called a spirit treasure, first had a crack. Then the cracks spread all over the sword like a spider web. It shattered like a piece of paper. After shattering the huge sword and sword rays, the golden finger ray did not slow down. It even sped up a bit. There was a puff. The golden finger ray burst out at a speed 10 times the speed of sound and instantly pierced Daoist graphite's chest. His body, which had been as hard as steel after more than 200 years of cultivation, exploded in the air and turned into a crystal rain of flesh, scattering everywhere. Zhang Tian only pointed. Breaking the sword qi, breaking the heavy sword and killing Daoist graphite. Everyone was shocked. There was dead silence. Everyone stared at Zhang Tian dumbfounded. Stormy waves were set off in their hearts and they could no longer calm down. This was Daoist graphite. He was an elder of the giant sword sect with a mid-stage foundation establishment cultivation. He was a figure of the same generation as the master of the Heavenly Star Palace, Li Longyuan. He was qualified to talk to him. Especially his swordsmanship, which was known for its fierce attacks, powerful momentum and powerful sword qi. Since his debut he had rarely met a worthy opponent in the past 200 years. But today he was killed by Zhang Tian. How is this possible? Jiang Yunhe's smile suddenly froze. He could no longer smile. The corners of his eyes trembled violently. His eyes had been replaced by deep fear and shock. What? He is so powerful. The purple bells on Ding Ling Dong's wrists and ankles jingled. Like her heartstrings, they trembled crazily and violently. Her beautiful eyes were wide open and her pretty face was filled with disbelief. She thought that she had overestimated Zhang Tian's strength, but she did not expect that she had seriously underestimated Zhang Tian. Her impression and evaluation of Zhang Tian were refreshed once again. This little thief, he actually won. Fairy Miao Yi's delicate body trembled slightly. Her beautiful eyes stared deeply at Zhang Tian, as if she was getting to know Zhang Tian again. When did such an expert appear in the Demon Cave Mountain? Where did he come from? Zen Master De Xin was also shocked. He gripped his Zen staff tightly, and an unprecedented sense of danger surged in his heart. This brat, could it be that he used some evil technique? How could he kill a mid-stage foundation establishment expert? Even more people felt that it was unbelievable. Damn, Brother Zhang is actually so powerful. The Qiao siblings also felt as if they were in a dream. Everything was so unreal. Who else wants to challenge my brother Zhang? Whoever is not convinced, come out. The smelly monkey was glad that he did not kneel this time. He wiped the cold sweat on his forehead, puffed out his chest and stood straight with his hands on his waist. He looked disdainfully at the crowd and said proudly, "I'm not talking about you guys and I'm not targeting anyone. Compared to my brother Zhang, you are all trash. Fighting chickens among trash." The entire place was dead silent. Only the sound of leaves falling could be heard. In an instant. So under Zhang Tian's pressure, they trembled and kept quiet out of fear, not daring to make a sound. Chapter 898. Normally, these geniuses, elites and young masters of the Peak Lords were all people of high status. No one dared to humiliate them like this. But now, even if the stinky monkey spoke, they were afraid of Zhang Tian's power and did not dare to refute him. "Immortal Master Zhang, it's all my fault for being blind and not recognizing you. I've offended you. Please be magnanimous and forgive me for my transgressions." When he came into contact with Zhang Tian's indifferent and cold gaze, Zhang Yunhe was terrified to the point his body trembled. Then he lowered his arrogant head and bowed deeply. The bean-sized beads of cold sweat on his forehead flowed down like a small stream, dripping onto the grass. "Immortal Master Zhang, please forgive us for offending Immortal Master's heavenly prestige." The others also bowed respectfully with cupped fists. Those who were timid even knelt on the ground. Even Zen Master De Xin, who had stayed out of the matter from the beginning, put his palms together and nodded at Zhang Tian to show his respect. "I'm not an immortal master or a big shot. So I'm not that forgiving." Zhang Tian's eyes suddenly turned cold. He stretched out his hand and grabbed at Zhang Yunhe from afar. Whoosh! A vast and surging suction force appeared out of thin air like a black hole in the universe. It instantly pulled Zhang Yunhe toward Zhang Tian. Break! Zhang Yunhe's expression changed drastically. His true essence surged wildly. T. More than 10 sharp and dazzling sword rays burst out from his body, stabbing, twisting, winding, cutting in all directions. He wanted to cut this strange force field. But it was useless. Zhang Yunhe was like a little chick caught in the claws of an eagle. He flailed his arms and legs and struggled in vain. He crossed hundreds of meters and was caught in front of Zhang Tian. Zhang Tian had already let go of his right hand, but Zhang Yunhe was still floating in the air, motionless. The power of restriction. Fairy Miao Yi's beautiful eyes were wide open. Her pretty little face was filled with disbelief. What is his cultivation level? Originally, Zen Master De Xin wanted to help, but when he saw this scene, his pupils suddenly shrank to the size of a needle tip. Fear was written all over his face and he slowly withdrew his foot. Restriction spells were generally based on talismans and formations. For someone like Zhang Tian who was able to create restriction spells out of thin air, it usually required a late-stage foundation establishment cultivator. But Zhang Tian gave a crisp slap to Zhang Yunhe's face and sneered, "So what if I'm your enemy? Come and fight me." "Let me go." Zhang Yunhe was beaten until blood spurted out from his nostrils. He struggled angrily and glared at Zhang Tian. His eyes were about to spew out raging flames. Zhang Tian's slap to his face in front of everyone was not heavy, but it was full of humiliation. It was simply a great humiliation that he could not bear. "Ants? Fuck, this is my line, okay? How dare you steal it from me?" If you have the guts, try saying that again. Pa. Jiang Tian gave him another slap. Jiang Yunhe's cheeks were shattered and a few of his molars flew out. Let me go. Otherwise, no matter how powerful your cultivation is, you won't be able to withstand my thunderous fury. Jiang Yunhe roared furiously. His eyes were red and he was incomparably sullen. The goddess he admired was just beside him, but he was actually slapped by Jiang Tian. It could be said that he had lost all his face. How was he going to pursue her in the future? Pa. Jiang Tian gave him another heavy slap in the face. Fresh blood splattered everywhere as flesh and blood splattered. Jiang Yunhe's cheekbones were all shattered and half of his face fell off, revealing his white teeth and cheekbones. His head was dizzy and he could no longer say another word. Most importantly, when he saw Jiang Tian's silent and cold eyes, he could not help but feel a chill in his heart. In that instant he realized that if he dared to challenge Jiang Tian again he would really dare to kill him. After all, Jiang Tian even dared to kill Daoist graphite and offend the giant sword sect. Who didn't he dare to kill? Is Jin Songfeng very powerful and domineering? Jiang Tian was calm and leisurely as he joked. Every sentence you say is Jin Song Peak's young peak lord. Every sentence you say is the master of the famous mountains and rivers. There's nothing strange about it, but you were still slapped by me. Jiang Tian was full of ridicule as he pinched his cheeks and laughed. If there's anything strange about it, it's that your face is thick enough. After hitting for so long, it still hasn't been completely broken. Jiang Yunhe rapidly twitched a few times. He was actually angered by Jiang Tian to the point that he fainted. This was too infuriating. Even the body and soul were ravaged, simply not giving people a way out. The entire place was deathly silent. No one dared to say a word and kept quiet out of fear. This person was truly audacious. He actually slapped Jiang Yunhe under Jin Song Peak. Amidst the deathly silence. Piff. An untimely laughter was heard. It was actually Ding Ling Dang who was laughing. Perhaps she felt that Jiang Yunhe was too miserable, so miserable that it actually had a strong comedic effect. Even if she felt that she shouldn't laugh, she still laughed. What are you laughing at? Jiang Tian threw Jiang Yunhe on the ground and kicked him away as he asked with a frown. Sensing Jiang Tian's gaze that was like cold lightning sweeping over, Ding Ling Dang trembled. Ding Ling Dang was so scared that her entire body quivered. She shrank back like a quail and said, I didn't laugh at you. Come here. Jiang Tian raised his hand and grabbing Ding Ling Dang who was hundreds of meters away in the blink of an eye. What are you doing? Slap her. Why? Ding Ling Dang was extremely wronged. This was simply an undeserved calamity. Could it be that she couldn't even laugh a little? He's looking for demon cores for you, yet you're still laughing. You have no conscience. Jiang Tian slapped her to the ground with a slap. This is also a reason. What right do you have? Tyrant. Ding Ling Dang glared at Jiang Tian hatefully. If you dare to be rash again, I'll hit you again. I'm already giving you face by not disfiguring you. Jiang Tian raised his hand. Ding Ling Dang was so frightened that she turned around and ran. She shrank behind Fairy Miao Yi, not daring to breathe loudly. Zen Master de Xian? Jiang Tian raised his hand and grabbed him, then gave him 2 tight slaps on the face. Zen Master de Xian was so depressed that he vomited blood. He roared, Immortal Master Jiang, I've been staying out of this from the beginning to the end. What right do you have to hit me? I'm hitting you because you're staying out of this. Jiang Tian said with a smile. Why don't I give you a few more slaps to let you understand? Zen Master de Xian suddenly slapped his head. His face emitted a benevolent and holy light. He put his palms together and bowed deeply. Immortal Master Jiang, thank you for your enlightenment. It's really as if you've enlightened me. I understand now. Everyone was speechless. Zen Master de Xian, I didn't expect someone with thick eyebrows and big eyes to be so obsequious. What the hell are you enlightening about? Aren't you just afraid of being beaten? Fairy Miao Yi, Jiang Tian said slowly. Immortal Master Jiang, what are you trying to do? I've never offended you from the beginning. Fairy Miao Yi's face was cold and angry. However, anyone could tell that she was a little cowardly on the inside. Even her voice was trembling. Fairy Miao Yi had always been a goddess. However, if she was slapped, she was no longer a goddess. Why are you so nervous? Jiang Tian smiled mockingly and said indifferently, I can still distinguish between good and bad people. However, don't wear white in the future. Don't wear the same clothes as me? What do you mean? Fairy Miao Yi was confused. She glanced at Jiang Tian's clothes, which were almost identical to hers, and snorted softly and turned away. If you look too similar, you'll be easily mistaken as a couple. In other words, you're Dao companions. Jiang Tian said slowly. Fairy Miao Yi turned around and glared at Jiang Tian before turning away again. No one saw that she was already blushing because of Jiang Tian's teasing, and her heart was pounding. Towards this kind of cold and arrogant girl, Jiang Tian had always been in charge of killing, not burying, flirting but not destroying. You can just scratch your heart and liver and scratch the wall. This blue-eyed toad is mine. Jiang Tian said indifferently. Are any of you not convinced? Come on, beat me and this toad is yours. If Jiang Tian had dared to say this before, he would have been spat to death. However, at this moment after Jiang Tian's words, the entire place was dead silent. No one dared to say a word. Everyone was already shocked and terrified. No one knew who this person was or where he came from. However, he was able to suppress so many peak leaders and elites. This was too terrifying. Big Brother Jiang is so domineering. He's invincible. Only Qiao Yingluo, the stinky monkey, and Qiao Beishan looked at Jiang Tian with admiration and cheered. I didn't expect that Master Kong is not only invincible on Earth, but also invincible against deities in the world of insects. Yi Tianren's eyes were full of reverence as he bowed deeply. If you don't have any objections, then get lost. Jiang Tian flicked his sleeves and waved his hand as if shooing away flies. Chapter 899. Seeing this scene, Zen Master De Xian's face was full of bitterness, and his mouth also tasted bitter. Even Daoist Graphite, who had reached Foundation establishment, was killed by Jiang Tian. How could they have the capital to provoke Jiang Tian? But in the end he glanced at the Black Lake and bowed deeply. I'll take my leave. Fellow Daoist Jiang, please be careful. No matter how unwilling and greedy the experts were in their hearts, how could they dare to say no in front of Jiang Tian's peerless ferocious might? They didn't even dare to move away many of their arrays. Who knew if this peerless killing god would use them? If they angered him, wouldn't they be stomped into flying ashes? I didn't expect that in the heavenly star small world, there would be such a powerful existence of the same generation. Miao Yi's pretty face was cold and she secretly made up her mind. When she returned, she would go into deep seclusion and attack the middle level of Foundation establishment. But Ding Lingdang looked at Jiang Tian with admiration, and a fawning smile appeared on her face as she warmly invited him. Immortal Janine Master, if you have time, come to Xingdu City as a guest. With me bringing you along, you can eat, drink and play for free. Beside them, everyone looked at Jiang Tian with incomparable envy and deep sympathy for Jiang Yunhe. Ding Lingdang was a person of noble status. She was a powerhouse on the prodigy list and the daughter of the city lord, but she threw an olive branch to this young man. Also, Jiang Yunhe shouldn't be too miserable. His face was beaten to a pulp, and the goddess he pursued so hard didn't even look at him. Instead, she offered a treasure to the murderer. Too miserable. Fortunately, Jiang Yunhe was still in a deep coma and escaped the more cruel physical and mental devastation this time. Without waiting for those people to walk out of the Black Lake, Qiao Yingluo's face was full of joy. Brother Jiang, you're really too powerful. Too powerful. After this, I'm afraid you'll be able to reach the top of the prodigy list and shake the whole heavenly star small world. When you return to Jadewell Peak, I'm afraid you'll be the great elder. Even the Peak Master will have to be respectful to you. Jiang Tian had slain Daoist Graphite, who had reached the peak of the Foundation establishment stage, and suppressed many other heaven's chosen powerhouses. Once news of this spread, it would shake the entire heavenly star small world. The Peak Master of Jadewell Peak, Jiang Haishan, was only at the 3rd level of Foundation establishment. There was a huge gap between him and Daoist Shermo. If he saw Jiang Tian, wouldn't he have to rely on him to some extent, treat him like a god and treat him with the courtesy of a national scholar? Peak leaders are nothing, heaven's favorites are nothing. Jiang Tian grinned in disdain. However, Yi Tianren frowned and said, Master Kong, I'm afraid that your massacre today will alarm heaven and earth Taoist Li Longyuan. Jiang Tian was only suppressing the younger generation of heavenly star small world. However, the real powerhouses of this small world were the sect masters, city masters and peak masters. Especially heaven and earth Taoist Li Longyuan, who was at the golden core stage, was superior to Zhang Tian by an entire realm. There was no such thing as an airtight wall. Now that Zhang Tian, a young foundation establishment powerhouse of unknown origin, had appeared, Li Longyuan was bound to be alarmed. He would also conduct an in-depth investigation on Zhang Tian. For Li Longyuan, it was only a matter of time before he figured out Zhang Tian's identity and found out that Zhang Tian was Kong Teichu, who had killed the Daoist of Xianxia. However, even so, Yi Tianren wasn't too worried. Zhang Tian came from a higher civilization. He must have a way to suppress Li Longyuan. However, as a disciple, Yi Tianren had to remind him. Otherwise, he wouldn't be a qualified disciple. What's wrong? Just as Zhang Tian was about to answer, a series of screams and sounds of fighting suddenly came from the sky outside. Yi Tianren was shocked. Amidst the buzzing and trembling sounds, suddenly, a dark cloud flew over from the sky. It covered a radius of 1,000 meters and enveloped the white luan and many other birds. The white luan let out a mournful cry. The attic on its back emitted thousands of rays of light, trying to resist the dark cloud. They're being attacked by mosquito beasts. Zhang Tian scanned with his divine sense and his face froze. He then flicked his fingers and said jokingly, "I guessed right. My guess was right, there really is such a vicious creature in this world. I told them to get out of here earlier. They're in trouble now. What kind of monster is this?" Celestial Leaf's eyes were like torches. He could see through the distance of several kilometers and instantly saw the dark clouds clearly. His expression changed drastically. The dark cloud was made up of ferocious beasts about 50 centimeters long, with large mouthparts and long wings. At first glance, the ferocious beasts looked like mosquitoes at first glance. Their wings weren't transparent like those of mosquitoes, but were made of flesh and supported by bones. They looked more like the wings of a bat. Moreover, they were covered in hair and were brightly colored. They looked incomparably sinister and made one's hair stand on end. Especially the sharp mouthparts, which were 3 meters long, a few times longer than their bodies. They flashed coldly and gave people a creepy feeling. They're here. They're called ancient mosquito beasts. They're probably prehistoric remnants of ancient Earth. Zhang Tian said slowly with a strange look in his eyes. How terrifying. Even the white luan and the jade attic can't resist them. The stinky monkey screamed and trembled in fear. At this time, the white luan and many other spirit beasts couldn't break through the tide of mosquito beasts and retreated to the lake. Everyone could see more clearly now. They felt their hair stand on end and their scalps were about to explode. The ferocious mosquito beasts danced in the sky like shooting stars. They crawled on the cultivators, giant eagles and all kinds of luans. Their sharp mouthparts were like spears. Then the mouthparts sucked hard and the prey immediately became skin and bones. Their blood was sucked dry. As for those mosquito beasts, their stomachs instantly became round and blood-red like rubies. The jade attic shone brightly and many restrictions were activated. A dazzling light shield was released trying to stop those mosquito beasts. But it was useless. The mosquito beasts flapped their wings and surrounded the pavilion like maggots. They exhaled a gray aura from their mouths at the same time. As the gray aura broke through the layers of restrictions, big holes appeared. Those mosquito beasts immediately went in and bit Goddess Miao Yi, Ding Ling Dang, Zen Master Dexin and the others. Those crystals were instantly melted when they met the gray aura from the mosquito beasts. Many Dao patterns, formation patterns, symbols and words flickered intensely. Then they turned dark and cracked. Evil beasts, why aren't you forcing them to retreat? I'm going to kill demons. Zen Master Dexin shouted angrily and jumped out of the attic. He waved his Zen staff and smashed it at those mosquito beasts. Clang. When the Zen staff hit a mosquito beast, there was a metallic sound and sparks flew. But that mosquito beast was only sent flying a few meters away. Then it flapped its wings again and charged at Zen Master Dexin. Its sharp mouthpart was like a long saber as it stabbed at Zen Master Dexin. This thing is so powerful. Everyone retreat. Retreat into the array formation. Zen Master Dexin resisted and dodged at the same time. His body flashed and left afterimages in the air. Seeing so many cultivators fall like rain and more than a dozen of them die in the blink of an eye, he broke out in cold sweat and shouted loudly. Screech. At that moment the white luan had been stabbed more than a dozen times. It let out a sorrowful cry and fell from the sky. Its blood essence had almost dried up after being sucked dry by many mosquito beasts. Moreover, the gray aura was injected into it. Wherever the gray aura shrouded, it immediately festered and revealed eerie white bones. Ding Lingdang stepped out of the attic and floated in the air. With a shake of her jade-like hand, 2 strings of bells flew out of her hands. Easily. The strings of bells floated in front of and behind her. The purple bells on them shot out beams of purple light that were 100 meters long. They sent many mosquito beasts flying and forcibly blasted open a path. Finally, after a fierce battle, everyone who had suffered heavy losses retreated to the original 3 arrays. They were all in a sorry state. What's this thing? Ding Lingdong's pretty face was pale and covered in cold sweat. Her hair was stuck to her temples and forehead. She was flustered and exasperated as she shouted sternly. Jiang Yunhe, what's wrong with your intelligence? Why didn't you mention this information? I've never seen it around the Blackwater Lake before. Jiang Yunhe's face was also pale and extremely depressed. After all, he was at Foundation Establishment Stage Level 2 and had a good foundation. After taking the healing medicine, he had mostly recovered and had already woken up. However, he was immediately scolded by Ding Lingdang. This monster is so powerful. The gray aura it spits out can actually break through the restrictions of the White Luan Treasure Tower. Zen Master Dixin's expression was solemn as he frowned. My 9 treasures Zen staff can even smash a mid-stage Foundation Establishment demon beast to death. But now, a piece of it has been corroded. Moreover, there are too many of them. Fairy Miao Yi's originally calm face revealed a hint of panic as she scanned her surroundings. It was unknown when it started, but the sky was densely packed with such mosquito beasts. There were probably more than 10,000 of them. They floated in all directions like a gray cloud, enveloping them. 10,000 Foundation Establishment Stage experts. Even if it's only level 1, will be exhausted to death. A cultivator cried out miserably and revealed a look of despair. What should we do? I'm afraid we're all going to die here. Many people were shocked and scared. Their faces were ashen and their bodies trembled. They were about to burst into tears. Chapter 900. Don't panic. Ding Lingdang swallowed her saliva and comforted herself. She said with a trembling voice, after all, we have 3 powerful arrays. We can hold them off for a while. Yes, release the messenger spirit birds and ask the major sects, city lords and peak masters to come and help. Zen Master Dixin made a prompt decision and said with a frown. Silly. If we can't get out, I'm afraid even the messenger spirit birds can't. Ding Lingdang was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan as she said with a frown. This cultivation civilization was still relatively low-end. There were very few teleportation arrays. Although voice transmission jade tokens and arrays had been developed, they were not popularized. Only in the major sects there were a few elders. In the cultivation world, if they wanted to popularize voice transmission jade tokens, they had to build a communication spirit net as the foundation. The many spirit chi base stations in the communication spirit net could realize the relay, strengthening and secondary transmission of information. According to Jiang Tian's observation, there was still a huge gap between this dimensional space and the highly developed modern cultivation civilization. It was like an agricultural civilization that could not produce steam engines or nuclear power. Also, there were too few humans and their thinking was outdated. Even if they were given another 1,000 years, they would not be able to catch up with the top cultivation civilizations. And now voice transmission jade tokens required huge arrays and tens of thousands of spirit stones to achieve a single transmission. Even the young peak masters, Zongzis and paragons did not usually bring them with them. After all, the base array of the voice transmission jade token was too big. It was a few hundred meters long and could not be carried around. Therefore, they mostly relied on spirit birds, flying swords and other dharma artifacts to transmit messages. I'll use the spirit chi paper crane. Where should I send it? Fairy Miao Yi took out a palm-sized paper crane from her waist bag. There were dazzling runes on it. Send it to the mission hall of Fiend Cave Mountain and let them send it to the other major forces. Zen Master Dixin said after pondering for a moment. Fairy Miao Yi nodded. She looked up at Jiang Tian and hurriedly wrote on the paper crane. Then she made hand seals with both hands and chanted softly. As soon as the obscure incantation was finished, the paper crane flapped its wings and flew into the sky at an extremely fast speed, comparable to the speed of sound. Unlucky, why am I so unlucky? If I had known, I wouldn't have come. Jiang Yunhe took out a jade slip, and with trembling hands he inscribed some words on it before inserting it into the eye of a circular array disc. Whoosh! The jade slip was like a rocket, breaking through the obstruction of many mosquito beasts and shooting straight into the sky. After that, the jade slip exploded with a loud boom. Clumps of golden light formed a few large characters in the air, each with a radius of a few miles. "Father, save me." There was even a wailing emoji at the back which was very realistic. Interesting. This kid likes to use emoticons when he's chatting. Jiang Tian's face was full of ridicule. "Brat, my dad will be here soon. How dare you be so rude to me?" Jiang Yunhe abruptly turned his head and glared at Jiang Tian as he furiously said, "Could it be that you're not afraid of death?" At this moment in the mission hall 100 miles away, a bird cage stood there quietly like a mailbox. Suddenly a paper crane shot through the air and flew in. Boom! Light shone brightly. A few words appeared in the void of space like an illusion. "A sect-destroying beast tide has appeared in the eastern part of the Blackwater Lake. Immortal Graphite and the others have fallen in the beast tide. Request for reinforcements. There will be great rewards. Fairy Miao Yi kowtows." Oh my god! Fairy Miao Yi is asking for reinforcements. A sect-destroying beast tide. It's too terrifying. Even Daoist graphite died? Many experts in the mission hall cried out in surprise. They were dumbfounded and couldn't believe what they were seeing. In this space, beast tides would erupt from time to time. In the long process of fighting against them, the human race had already developed some customary words. At present, they were generally divided into 4 levels: Massacre Town, City Crusher, Sect Annihilation, and World Annihilation. Massacre Town was basically a deity realm demonic beast with the strength to annihilate a small town. City Crusher was generally a demonic beast at the early stage of Foundation establishment. Such a demonic beast had astonishing destructive power. With a breath, it could devour thousands of people. With a stomp, it could destroy a few miles of land and could destroy a city. As for Sect Annihilation, it could annihilate a sect. It was usually a late-stage Foundation establishment demonic beast, or even a terrifying existence that had condensed a demonic core, or an early-stage or mid-stage Foundation establishment demonic beast, but their numbers were astonishing, like thousands of soldiers and horses. Within 10 years, sect-destroying demonic beasts or beast tides were very rare and could be counted on one's fingers. Therefore, when this news came out, all the experts who heard the news were shocked and uneasy. Boom! After hearing the news, the mission hall master was so shocked that his face turned pale and he jumped up from his chair. A sect-destroying beast tide. And Daoist graphite has also fallen? Could it be that the blue-eyed toads have jumped out? He slapped his thigh and sighed, saying angrily, "I've already warned Jiang Yunhe, Fairy Miao Yi, and the others not to provoke the blue-eyed toads. They insisted on going. It's over now." That's not right. The blue-eyed toads can't reach the sect-destroying level. There must be a more terrifying demonic beast. Next to him, an elder said in confusion. But what could it be? After all, the most terrifying thing in the Blackwater Lake is the blue-eyed toads. Don't worry so much. First, send the news to the other mission halls, sects, cities, and famous mountains. Fairy Miao Yi has sent the news to us. If we don't send it out, we will be trampled to death by the heartless sect. The mission hall master of the Demon Cave Mountain hurriedly said. Boom. The arrays of the communication jade tokens were activated and a huge amount of spiritual energy blasted out. And hundreds or thousands of kilometers away, in the mission halls, sects, and famous mountains, the jade tokens were shining again. If one were to look 10,000 meters up in the sky, they would see that on the entire heavenly star continent, huge waves of spiritual energy were rampaging and gradually intertwining into a network. The news of the beast tide in the Blackwater Lake almost instantly spread throughout the heavenly star small world. In the giant sword sect, on a huge mountain peak surrounded by a mystical aura, like a giant sword piercing the sky, many Foundation establishment elders were sitting cross-legged and quietly breathing. Suddenly, the communication jade token on the side of the hall emitted thousands of rays of light, and a line of words appeared. What? A sect-destroying beast tide appeared in the Blackwater Lake and ate Daoist graphite. All the elders opened their eyes at the same time, and their faces were filled with shock. No matter what, Daoist graphite is our fellow sect member. We must kill the culprit. Someone roared with a face full of anger. Daoist graphite liked to cheat and swindle. He was black-hearted and had a bad reputation, so no one liked him. Now that they heard the news of his death, some people secretly felt that it was karma. But the Giant Sword sect was one of the 3 major sects under the Heavenly Star Palace after all. They were superior to many small sects and were inviolable. Now that one of their elders had fallen, the Giant Sword sect would kill anyone who stood in their way. They had to get back at them. Soon rays of light that pierced through heaven and earth shot out from the Giant Sword sect's dojo. Each ray of light represented a late-stage Foundation establishment expert. They were supreme, and there was even a fake core vice sect master leading the team. The rays of light were like fighter jets breaking through the sound barrier, letting out deafening sonic booms. They pierced through the clouds and split the sky, and in an instant, they shot toward the direction of the Blackwater Lake. In the ice palace of the Heartless sect. After listening to the narration of a Daoist nun, Sect Master Lady Miyu, who was cultivating, suddenly opened her eyes. Her gaze was as cold as ice that had been frozen for thousands of years. Wherever her gaze passed, ice crystals would shoot out. She was very beautiful, but her eyes gave off a fierce and violent feeling, as well as a cold and ruthless feeling. She stood up, and her height reached an astonishing 8 meters. She was like a female Vajra, and her face was full of anger. That silly girl. Why didn't she cultivate diligently? Why did she mix with that good-for-nothing Jiang Yunhe? What good will she do if she interacts with them? You don't think highly of her either? Master, please punish me. The Daoist nun who reported was so frightened that she immediately knelt on the ground and apologized in a panic. All right, get up. Lady Miyu frowned and said coldly, you all guard the sect well. I'll go save that stinky girl. Her figure flashed and shot across the sky like a cannonball. A flying sword full of ice crystals shot out from the depths of the sect's dojo and landed at her feet. Chapter 901. In a luxurious palace on the Golden Pine Peak. Wisps of white mist emerged, the clouds were steaming and the fragrance of medicine was overflowing. Zhou Xian, who was as tall as a mountain, was soaking naked in a bathtub filled with medicinal liquid, trying to expel the poison. His face was as pale as gold paper and he was sweating profusely. Every time he used his power, his pores would shoot out streaks of black venom like arrows. In the blink of an eye, the emerald-green medicinal liquid in the bathtub was dyed like a barrel of gasoline ink, and it emitted a foul smell. This blue-eyed toad is so powerful. I'm afraid that even those sect leaders may not be able to kill it. Zhou Xian stepped out of the bathtub and straightened his back. Suddenly, a surging wave of air pushed out, shaking the entire palace crazily. The floor made of gold suddenly sank into 2 shallow footprints, and even the lines were clearly visible. Zhou Xian took the bathrobe handed over by the pretty maidservant and wrapped it and said coldly, moreover, the poison is so stubborn. It took me 3 months of hard work and more than 10 high-grade detoxification pills to force the poison out. Congratulations to the Peak Master for forcing out the poison and recovering your cultivation. A guardian elder said joyfully. Zhou Xian waved his hand and said with a solemn face, you must strictly instruct your disciples not to go to the Blackwater Lake again. Those who violate it will be killed without mercy. At this moment, a middle-aged woman who was still charming, wearing a palace dress and revealing a touch of white tender skin and deep breasts, walked in quickly. She cried and said anxiously, husband, it's not good. Something happened to Yunhe at the Blackwater Lake. What? Zhou Xian was stunned, shocked and angry. Didn't I order him not to go to the Blackwater Lake again and again? This evil creature, how can you ignore my words? Why are you talking nonsense at this time? I don't care, I want my Go save him. The woman shouted angrily with her hands on her hips. How do you know how powerful that blue-eyed toad is? If I go, I'll be sending myself to death. Zhou Xian was so angry that he stomped his feet and shouted angrily. He's like this now because you spoiled him. He had only himself to blame. How many times have I said how powerful the blue-eyed toads are? But he didn't listen. Going there is clearly courting death. You're not going? I don't want to live anymore. The Peak Mistress shouted angrily. I burned Jin Songfeng with a torch. Let's see if you still want to cultivate. What kind of Peak Master is this? Zhou Xian was stunned. He couldn't afford to offend a tigress. Then he smiled apologetically and scratched his head. Madam, don't be anxious. Let me think of a way. Suddenly he had a bright idea and said, "Oh right, quickly contact Chu Yonghui. Let Chu Yonghui help. He is our in-law. Now that his son-in-law is in trouble, how can he just stand by and watch? His trading company might have some powerful magical artifacts." Along the way he gave instructions to the elders as they flew toward the Blackwater Lake. At Jadewell Peak, Chu Yonghui and Chu Yunxiu quickly got the news. They were so shocked that they broke out in a cold sweat. Chu Yunxiu said anxiously, "Father, no matter what, you have to help." "Help them? How?" Chu Yonghui's eyes flickered as he said coldly, "I've already sent spies to check the periphery. There are tens of thousands of mosquito beasts surrounding them. Each of them is comparable to a Foundation establishment expert. How many Foundation establishment cultivators do we have? Just a few. Is it enough for them to eat? But Jiang Yunhe is my future husband." Chu Yunxiu's beautiful eyes were filled with tears. "If he dies, who will I marry? Marry the sons of the city lords? I'm not worthy at all. After all, the heroes of Demon Cave Mountain were scattered and unorganized. They could not compare to those sects and cities. The 9 peaks of Demon Cave Mountain combined were probably not as strong as the Giant Sword sect. The status of the Peak Master was also much lower. He was probably inferior to an elder of the other party. Although Chu Yunxiu was the daughter of a Peak Master, she was far too inferior compared to Fairy Miao Yi or even Ding Ling Dang. She cultivated diligently and painstakingly to reach the Foundation establishment level and enter the prodigy role. Only then could she be worthy of Jiang Yunhe. She was already climbing the social ladder. In terms of foundation, she was still too inferior. Those sons of the city lords and the elites of the sects would not even look at her. But I can't gamble the future of the entire Jadewell Peak because of this. Chu Yonghui heaved a long sigh. Jiang Yunhe was indeed extremely talented and had an extraordinary status. It was truly difficult to find a good match. In terms of ability and means, he was the best. Among the younger generation, he was the top of the 9 peaks of Demon Cave Mountain. He was not inferior to the sons of the city lords and Zhongzi outside. If his daughter Yunxiu could marry him, she would become a phoenix. It would even bring great benefits to Jadewell Peak. However, Blackwater Lake was too dangerous. Who could resist a beast tide that could destroy a sect? Furthermore, the other Peak Masters were biding their time. If he went over, wouldn't he be accompanying them to his death? "If you don't go, I'll go. In any case, I won't leave Jiang Yunhe alone." Chu Yunxiu was so angry that she danced and shouted. Then she turned and rushed out of the door. "Come back. You're going to die." Chu Yonghui was so angry that he stomped his feet. How can a beast tide that can destroy a sect appear so easily? Maybe even the great demon Bai Zhe will appear. Even if Li Longyuan from the Sky Star Palace comes out, he may not be able to suppress it. He said softly, trying to scare and coax her. "Don't worry. If something happens to Yunhe, I'll help you find a new husband. How about Floating Spear City's city lord's son, Zheng Renwang?" Zheng Renwang seems to have just entered the Foundation establishment stage. Although his background is very good, his cultivation is a bit weak. Chu Yunxiu stopped and seemed to have calmed down. She frowned and said, "Uncle Jiang Haishan has already sent out a distress signal. Jadewell Peak should do something, right? We can't be ungrateful." Chu Yonghui nodded and said, "You're right. No matter what, we have to give face." Suddenly his eyes lit up and he said, "Oh right, I heard that Qiao Huayin came and brought an expert." Qiao Huayin came to Jadewell Peak and handed over a name card wanting to meet him. But Chu Yonghui was a peak master and owned several smuggling companies. He was very busy every day. How could he take a small character like Qiao Huayin seriously? Oh, this person's surname is Jiang. His cultivation is just in the immortal state. And he's very arrogant and boastful. He can't take on a big responsibility. Chu Yunxiu said disdainfully. "It's mainly for show. You can't let us Foundation establishment hall masters and consecrators throw our lives away. It's very expensive." Chu Yonghui said with a wry smile. Chu Yunxiu nodded and asked the servant to call Qiao Huayin. She said gently, "Uncle Qiao, you've had a hard time. We didn't meet you in time. Sorry." Qiao Huayin was flattered. He quickly kowtowed and said, "Greetings, Peak Master and Miss. You all have a lot of things to do every day and are very busy. This little one understands. It's already a great kindness to take me in. Uncle Qiao, we're like a family. There's no need for formalities." Please get up. Chu Yunxiu quickly helped him up and said softly, "Where's Mr. Jiang who came with you?" "Mr. Jiang seems to have taken Ying Luo out to play. I couldn't find them after looking for a long time," Qiao Huayin said nervously. They went out. Chu Yunxiu was so angry that she wanted to kill him on the spot. But she forced a smile and said, "Well, you can leave now. When Ying Luo and the others come back, you must let me know." "Yes, I know." Seeing the murderous look on Chu Yunxiu's face, Qiao Huayin was frightened and left. After Qiao Huayin left, Chu Yunxiu gritted her teeth and sneered, "This trash must be a liar. He lied about his cultivation. He's not even in the immortal state. He's afraid that we'll test him and give him away, so he slipped away in advance. It's human nature." Chu Yonghui frowned and said, "There are too many people who want the protection of Jade Well Peak after causing trouble outside. But Jade Well Peak doesn't want trash. Many people lie about their cultivation." He patted the armrest of the chair and said, "But this is troublesome. We don't have any cannon fodder. We still need to pick out a few immortal state experts to help. Tell them to be careful. Let them wander around the periphery a few times. Don't get close." Chu Yunxiu said. Back at the Black Lake, when Jiang Tian saw Jiang Yunhe's signal, he immediately laughed, causing Jiang Yunhe to roar at Jiang Tian again. "Kid, you're about to die. I can't be bothered to argue with someone who's about to die." Jiang Tian smiled lazily. If it was before, Jiang Tian would have killed Jiang Yunhe with a flick of his finger after provoking him so many times. "What did you say?" Jiang Yunhe was furious and wanted to retort. "Young Peak Master Jiang, the enemy is right in front of us. Don't cause any more trouble," Fairy Miao Yi said coldly. "Yes. Fairy Miao Yi is right." Jiang Yunhe smiled embarrassedly, then looked at Jiang Tian and said arrogantly, "For Fairy Miao Yi's sake, I'll let you go this time." "You're asking for a beating." Jiang Tian raised his hand and gestured. Jiang Yunhe was so frightened that he hid behind Miao Yi. His face was pale like a stray dog. He was only a few hundred feet away from Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian's finger beam could definitely hit him with one hit. Ding Ling Dang giggled, finding it amusing. She glanced at Jiang Yunhe with disdain. She only felt that this clown was like a 3-year-old child in front of Jiang Tian. Fairy Miao Yi's face was as calm as still water. She said indifferently, "Fellow Daoist Janine, these mosquito beasts are very ferocious and there are many of them. You better come to our array formation." Yes. "Fellow Daoist Jiang, we won't know each other if we don't fight. We'll be friends from now on. Let's have a good chat," Ding Ling Dang said excitedly. There was a moment of silence. Everyone looked at Jiang Yunhe in unison, their expressions sympathetic and awkward. How did they become friends? Isn't this too forceful in making friends? A green leaf fell on Jiang Yunhe's head. Jiang Yunhe hurriedly pulled it off and arrogantly looked at Jiang Tian as he proudly said, "These 3 arrays of mine cost millions of 5 essence spirit stones. You can't come in for free. If you want to come in, you'll have to lower your head and apologize to me." Chapter 902. Everyone thought that Jiang Tian was going to give in. After all, without the protection of the formation, wouldn't these mosquito beasts swallow him up in seconds? These were late-stage Foundation establishment mosquito beasts. And there were so many of them and they were so ferocious. Unexpectedly, Jiang Tian raised the mugwort leaf torch and smiled disdainfully in a composed manner. "Do you think that if I'm not here, you can stop these mosquito beasts with your 3 lousy formations? Immortal Master Jiang, please be careful. The power of these mosquito beasts is not something you can imagine. I'm afraid they can even kill Golden Core experts." Fairy Miao Yi reminded him again. "In your eyes, these mosquito beasts are extremely terrifying. But to me, they are just a few mosquitoes that I can kill with a wave of my hand." Jiang Tian smiled lazily and disdainfully. "You are too arrogant. You didn't listen to my kind words." Fairy Miao Yi's body trembled slightly and her face turned cold. A trace of shame and anger flashed across her clear eyes. She admired Jiang Tianxing's talent and even felt ripples in her heart. It could be said that Jiang Tian was the most talented young man she had met in her 10 years of cultivation. He even surpassed any young man of his age in history, be it the sect master or the city lord. That was why she spoke up for Jiang Tian again and again today. But she didn't expect that Jiang Tian would actually ignore her like this, and even boast so shamelessly and arrogantly. Everyone could not believe what they heard. Then they started to talk about it mockingly. Immortal Master Zhang's cultivation is indeed not bad. He should be at the mid-stage of foundation establishment. But these demonic beasts can even break through a treasure tower that can defend against golden core experts. How can you stop them? Immortal Master Zhang's words are too rash. You are the one who can stop 10,000 enemies. Aren't you the one who is protected by our formations? Ignorant fool. Jiang Yunhe was so angry that he jumped up and mocked. How do you know the power of these 3 formations? They were designed and made by the Heavenly Secret Pavilion and cost me millions of crystals. They are extremely powerful. Without the protection of my array formation, you would have died several times over. Master Kang's cultivation is heaven-defying, so of course he's not afraid. Why don't you go out and fight with the mosquito beast? There were also people who appeared to be humble, but they were actually mocking Jiang Tian. Alright. The Jiang Tian faction smiled calmly. Since you want me to go out, I'll go out. But don't cry and beg me to come back later. I beg you? Why should I beg you? Dream on. Get out of here. This is my formation. Jiang Yunhe waved his hand and berated as though he was driving away flies. Later, you will beg me to call you father and grandfather. Because the only thing that can stop the mosquito beast is the torch in my hand. Jiang Tian looked at Jiang Yunhe as if he was looking at a fool and laughed. Preposterous. Shameless boasting. Jiang Yunhe jumped up in anger. Jiang Tian could not be bothered with him. With a chuckle he swaggered out of the range of the formation. Qiao Yingluo and the rest gritted their teeth and followed. Ding Lingdang pulled Fairy Miao Yi and asked, Sister Miao Yi, why didn't you persuade fellow Daoist Jin Yin? I've already tried. Good words can't persuade a wretched person. Fairy Miao Yi's face was as cold as frost. He's arrogant and that's not a good thing. Let him suffer a little. It'll be beneficial for his cultivation path. Seeing that Ding Lingdang was still unable to bear it, she smiled faintly and said, Don't worry. If he's really surrounded by demon beasts, I'll save him. Originally, everyone thought that once Jiang Tian left the formation, there would definitely be many mosquito beasts surrounding and attacking him. After all, these mosquito beasts were not even afraid of the defense of a golden core, let alone Jiang Tian, a foundation establishment cultivator. But to everyone's disbelief, those mosquito beasts didn't move at all. As Jiang Tian got closer, they retreated like the tide. Impossible. His aura can't be that of a golden core expert. Seeing that, Fairy Miao Yi's expression changed drastically. Her beautiful eyes widened in disbelief as her petite body trembled. What's going on? Those mosquito beasts seem to be very afraid of him. Ding Lingdang was also moved by this and was greatly surprised. How did he do it? Zen Master De Exen frowned and thought hard, but he could not think of a reason. Can't be right? He can actually scare such terrifying demon beasts into retreating? Jiang Yunhe's face was also filled with shock and confusion. Suddenly, the array master of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion, who was in charge of building the 3 formations, stomped his feet and said as if he had seen a ghost. Oh no, we made a mistake. He's using the torch and black smoke in his hands to block those mosquito beasts. What? He can scare and defend against those terrifying mosquito beasts with just a few torches. What a joke. Everyone exclaimed. Indeed, everyone noticed it. Black smoke billowed from the torch in Jiang Tian's hands and soared into the sky. Wherever the black smoke passed, the mosquito beasts avoided it. Run. The array master of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion exclaimed as he rushed towards Jiang Tian and the others. But it was already too late. Buzz. Buzz. A series of disturbing booms resounded in the sky. The eyes of the mosquito beasts glinted fiercely as they flapped their furry wings. Their sharp mouthparts trembled as they rushed towards the people in the array. The array master of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion was so frightened that he was in a dilemma. Suddenly he gritted his teeth and shouted, Open the array. Open. 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 Many array masters inserted the array pestles into the array eyes and the energy of the heaven-burning fire array was activated. Whoosh. 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 Flames hundreds of meters long spewed out of the array like fire dragons emerging from the sea. They shot into the sky and swept toward the mosquito beast. Those flames contained the essence of leaf fire and were extremely hot. They could burn anything and could burn an immortal state warrior to death. But it was useless. Those mosquito beasts didn't seem to feel anything. They flew through the flames and into the array. Some of them even flattened their stomachs and swallowed the flames through their mouths. Through their thin stomachs, everyone could see the flames clearly, but those mosquito beasts didn't seem to be affected at all. Everyone was so frightened that their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. They were so scared that they broke out in cold sweat. Oh my God, how is that possible? What is the beginning of this monster? It's not even afraid of such a high-temperature flame. Everyone screamed as if they had seen an evil ghost in broad daylight. Swish, swish, swish. Many mosquito beasts covered the sky and their sharp mouths were like sharp swords, stabbing down crazily. The cultivators fell to the ground one by one and became skin and bones. Their essence and blood were sucked dry. What's more, those mosquito beasts spat out the flames they had just absorbed and burned many cultivators to ashes. Run! Shrill cries resounded incessantly. Numerous cultivators were like headless flies, and they fought as they retreated and fled in all directions. Don't run around. Run towards the concealment Immortal Master. The Array Master of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion reminded them loudly. At this moment everyone noticed. On the ground around Zhang Tian and the others, there were butterfly leaf mugwort torches. Black smoke rose into the air, forming a screen of black smoke. Those mosquito beasts didn't dare to approach. Zhang Tian and the others sat cross-legged on a piece of felt. Each of them held a few pieces of paper. They were actually playing Fight the Landlord. They were eating melon seeds, drinking wine and talking cheerfully. Whoosh! Everyone reacted to the situation and rushed towards Zhang Tian like a tide. Normally they weren't far from Zhang Tian. It was less than a kilometer away. For the cultivators with the lowest cultivation, they only needed a few leaps to reach. But in just a few breaths of time, dozens of experts were stabbed by the mosquito beasts and rolled on the ground. In the blink of an eye they died and turned into bones. In the end, when everyone rushed into the smoke screen, there weren't many left. Fight the Landlord, awesome. You can come in, but each person has to throw down 100,000 crystals. Otherwise get out. Zhang Tian sneered as he played his cards. Master Kong, no problem. After the Array Masters of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion rushed in, they happily handed over a jade talisman with both hands. This kind of storage jade talisman was enchanted with runes and couldn't be faked. It was a bit like a bank card or a check on Earth, but it was anonymous and could be exchanged for crystals at any crystal shop. Zhang Tian didn't even look at it and continued playing cards. He smiled and said, Yingluo, take it. Qiao Yingluo was stunned. It turned out that the butterfly leaf mugwort torches had such a magical effect. They were just materials bought with a few crystals, but the effect was comparable to a large array worth millions of crystals. After hearing Zhang Tian's words, she reacted and happily accepted the jade talisman. Then she inserted the mugwort torches into the ground, put her hands behind her back and patrolled back and forth. She scanned the audience, raised her jade-white chin and said proudly, Did you hear what Master Concealment said? Each person has to pay 100,000 crystals. Otherwise get out. Pay. We'll pay. Although everyone felt the pinch, no one dared to be rash and they all gritted their teeth and handed over the storage jade talisman. Too scary. Zen Master de Xin still had lingering fears. Fairy Miao Yi's face was pale. When the wind blew, a trace of coldness hit her. She realized that her clothes were full of holes caused by the mosquito beast's mouthparts, and blood seeped out, revealing her snow-white skin. She couldn't help but feel ashamed. How can this array be so fragile? Zhang Yunhe, you're so useless. How can you do things? Ding Lingdang was so scared that her face was pale, and she was covered in cold sweat. How would I know? It's the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion's fault. They said it was completely possible. Zhang Yunhe's face was covered in dirt and his face was red. He felt that his face had been slapped swollen by Zhang Tian. Just now he was still showing off his array high and mighty, looking down on everything and chasing Zhang Tian away. But now his 3 arrays were broken by the mosquito beasts in seconds. The hunting team was utterly defeated and suffered heavy casualties. Only 1/5 of the original team was left alive. Young Peak Master Jiang, pay up. I heard you're very rich. At this time, Qiao Yingluo just happened to receive the money and smiled proudly in front of Zhang Yunhe. Zhang Yunhe's face was red and he gritted his teeth. Just as he was about to take out the storage jade talisman, he heard Zhang Tian say slowly. He can't. He wants to give me 10 million crystals. If he's short of a single crystal, Get out. Chapter 903. Jiang Yunhe was enraged and said, Fellow Daoist Jian, are you targeting me? Even if he was rich, his personal wealth was only 25,500,000 when crystal stones. Jiang Tian wanted to take half of it, which was no different from asking for an exorbitant price. I am targeting you. If you are not willing to pay, get out. Jiang Tian threw away the poker cards, stood up and said coldly, You are going too far. Jiang Yunhe was furious as he pointed at Jiang Tian and roared, So what if I am bullying you? Smack. Jiang Tian raised his hand and gave him a slap. Whoosh. Thud. Jiang Yunhe's face was covered in blood as his canine teeth fell out. He was sent flying dozens of meters away and fell outside the smoke screen like a dead dog. Suddenly, buzz, 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 buzz. The mosquito beast's compound eyes flickered with terrifying light as they flew toward Jiang Yunhe. Their mouths were inhaling and exhaling gray poisonous gas, which were like sharp spears. Ouch. Ouch. It hurts. Jiang Yunhe let out a mournful howl that made one's hair stand on end as he frantically rushed towards the smoke screen. Whoosh. Miao Yi raised her eyebrows and patted the storage bag on her waist. A treasured sword covered in frost broke through the air and pierced toward the mosquito beasts like lightning. Jiang Yunhe only got a chance to catch his breath after Miao Yi helped him. He hurriedly crawled into the smoke screen. Plop. He fell to the ground with a thud. His body was covered in blood and holes and he was on the verge of death. In just a few seconds his blood essence was almost sucked dry. His entire right leg had withered and he was so scared that he peed in his pants. Fellow Daoist Jian, you are too greedy for good stuff. This is no different from robbery. Miao Yi was getting angrier and angrier. She walked over quickly and waved her hands as she said angrily, 10 million crystals, I will give it to you. Immortal Master Jiang, you must agree. I know my mistake. Fellow Daoist Jian, I beg you to be lenient and forgive me. Please don't kick me out. Jiang Tian's face sank. Before he could say anything, Jiang Yunhe had already prostrated himself on the ground, kowtowing like he was pounding garlic as he begged for mercy. Look, he's willing to give it to you. Jiang Tian looked at the dumbfounded fairy Miao Yi and mocked her. In fact, he's even willing to pay 20 million. Am I right, young Peak Master Jiang? I'm willing. I'm willing. Just don't throw me out. Jiang Yunhe repeatedly kowtowed, his face full of flattery. Goddess Miao Yi's face blushed again, feeling as if her face was slapped by Jiang Tian. You clearly have the ability to save everyone. Why didn't you do it earlier? If you had acted in time, there wouldn't have been so many deaths. She glared at Jiang Tian as she stared at the corpses on the ground and the messy array formation. As soon as these words were spoken, Qiao Yinglue was so angry that her face turned white. Qiao Beishan also shook his head secretly. This woman must be crazy. Wu Tengying and Daoist Graphite are your people. Just now they wanted to kill Big Brother Jiang and were extremely vicious. Now that you're in trouble, why should Big Brother Jiang lend you a helping hand? Ding Ling Dang pulled her and softly persuaded her. Sister Miao Yi, don't quarrel. No matter what, Daoist Jian still saved us. We should still be grateful to him. Even Zen Master De Exen smiled bitterly and shook his head. This was the first time Goddess Miao Yi had left the mountain to experience the world. She was simple-minded and didn't know the dangers and ugliness of the cultivation world. In fact, Jiang Tian was already very merciful that he didn't take advantage of the situation and kill everyone. Miao Yi, do I know you? Are we close? Why should I lend you a helping hand? Jiang Tian said mockingly. You. Goddess Miao Yi was speechless and her face turned pale. She didn't expect Jiang Tian to be so disrespectful. This future sect master of the Heartless sect, one of the 3 major sects under the Starry Palace, took a few deep breaths to suppress the anger in her heart. She was as pure as ice and as pure as jade. Her beautiful face was as cold as frost as she questioned coldly. You didn't even have to do anything. You only needed to remind us. If you had reminded us earlier, would so many of us have died? Now you're still looting and taking advantage of the situation. What kind of person are you? Miao Yi, it seems that you're very forgetful. Jiang Tian's face was calm as he said indifferently. Didn't I remind you just now that your array formation is not safe? Didn't I tell you that it was my torch that blocked the mosquito beasts? Who's the culprit? This, Goddess Miao Yi was speechless. Her face was flushed and her beautiful eyes were about to cry. In fact, Zhang Tian had explained everything clearly from the beginning to the end. In fact, Zhang Tian had reminded her at the foot of Jade well a day ago and even promoted the mugwort torch to her. Most importantly, be it her Zen Master de Xian or Zhang Tian, none of them believed in Zhang Tian. Most importantly, Goddess Miao Yi did not believe in Zhang Tian. Although Zhang Yunhe was the one who gathered and planned the hunting operation, the true commander was Goddess Miao Yi. After all, her cultivation was the highest. It could be said that Goddess Miao Yi was the one who did not believe in Zhang Tian time and time again, resulting in this calamity. Evil beast, die. Right then. Suddenly, there was a whoosh and a golden beam of light pierced through the tide of mosquito beasts. Boom. There was a deafening sound. A valiant female immortal with a cold expression landed heavily on the ground like a meteor. Goddess Miayu. The sect master of Heartless Sect. Goddess Miayu is here. We're finally saved. Many cultivators present had reverent expressions as they knelt on the ground one after another, worshipping her as though they had seen their savior. Greetings, Goddess Miayu. Zen Master de Exen pressed his palms together and bowed deeply to show his utmost respect. Greetings, Goddess Miayu. Even the mischievous Ding Ling Dang put away her mischievous expression and bowed with a solemn expression. Although she was the daughter of the city lord of Star Capital, Heartless Sect was also one of the three major sects, second only to the Heavenly Star Palace. Even her father would have to be respectful to Goddess Miyu of Heartless Sect. Furthermore, she had received guidance from Goddess Miyu several times and could be considered an unofficial disciple. Master. This time I almost couldn't see you again. Goddess Miao Yi instantly pounced into Goddess Miyu's embrace. She could no longer control her tears and started crying in grievance. Crying and wailing, where are your manners? Goddess Miayu frowned and chided. I've already said that the blue-eyed toads are not something you can deal with. You guys are also unlucky to encounter such mosquito beasts. However, she still patted Goddess Miao Yi's shoulder and said warmly, Didn't I come for you? Goddess Miao Yi stopped crying and said with a sobbing tone, This lowly disciple knows her mistake. This disciple also considered that the blue-eyed toads had harmed too many people, so I wanted to get rid of them. Everyone has their own destiny. As a monk, why do we have to care so much about the affairs of the mortal world? Goddess Miyu sighed. Goddess Miyu, this brat wanted to kill me just now and has harmed countless people. Even Wu Tengying and the giant sword sect's elder Mo were killed by him. Hurry up and kill him. Suddenly, Jiang Yunhe rushed to Goddess Miyu and bowed with a fawning expression. Then he pointed at Zhang Tian and complained. Many people couldn't help but gloat. Everyone knew that Goddess Miyu had a violent temper and was temperamental. She was cold and heartless and killed people like flies. Her reputation was not inferior to any of the sect masters. Now Zhang Tian had even humiliated her disciple. How could Goddess Miyu not teach Zhang Tian a lesson? Flap. Unexpectedly, Goddess Miyu raised her hand and slapped Jiang Yunhe, sending him flying. Goddess Miyu, why did you hit me? Aren't you friends with my father? Jiang Yunhe flew dozens of meters away and rolled on the ground. His face was already bleeding profusely and his teeth were about to fall out. He was incomparably miserable. I will kill whoever I want. You don't need others to point fingers at me. How can I allow a little bastard like you to interfere? Who does your father think he is? How can he be worthy of being my friend? Goddess Miyu snorted coldly. When everyone saw this, they were all frightened and kept quiet out of fear. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly. They had long heard that Goddess Miyu was unyielding and temperamental. Seeing her today, it was indeed so. She didn't play by the rules at all. Goddess Miyu couldn't be bothered with Jiang Yunhe. Instead, she turned her head and looked at Zhang Tian with a strange light in her eyes. These mosquito beasts are extremely rare, and I heard that they went extinct 200 years ago. The method of using butterfly-leafed mugwort, purple toad oil and purple-veined vines to restrain the mosquito beasts is rarely known. My master told me this more than 100 years ago. But this fellow Daoist actually knows about it. This fellow Daoist is so young, but he is actually so knowledgeable. I wonder which sect you are from? I don't belong to any sect. I'm just an itinerant cultivator, Daoist Jin Yin. Jiang Tian said indifferently. Rare. 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 Female celestial annihilation desire exclaimed in admiration. She then looked at Zhang Tian deeply with a look of admiration. No way. Such high praise. Could he be Goddess Miyu's illegitimate son? Do you want to die? If Goddess Miyu hears this, she will kill you with one strike. Everyone was stunned. Even Goddess Miaoi was stunned. Her beautiful eyes were wide open and her pretty face was filled with disbelief. Goddess Miyu was extremely talented and had a strange temper. She thought highly of herself. As one of the people who made the prodigy role, she had once criticized the younger generation, saying that there were no talents and that they were all trash. Even the Azure Mystic Sect's Daoist had received an evaluation from her, saying that it was difficult for him to achieve great things. He had no hope of becoming a golden core cultivator in this lifetime. It was said that the Azure Mystic Sect's Daoist was so angry that he couldn't eat for 3 days and 3 nights. And now she actually gave Zhang Tian such an evaluation. It was really unbelievable. It was like a dream. Chapter 904. Hee, if I had such a good illegitimate son, why would I cultivate? I'll just wait at home for a grandson. Lady Desireless smiled and glared at the cultivator who was spouting nonsense. Please calm down, Lady Desireless. Please forgive me. The cultivator was so scared that he knelt on the ground, his body trembling as he kowtowed. However, Lady Desireless seemed to be in a good mood and didn't kill him. Lady Desireless looked at Fairy Miao Yi and said with a faint smile, "You sent a message saying that Daoist Graphite and Wu Tengying died in the Beast Tide, right?" Goddess Miao Yi blushed and so did her eyes. She raised her eyebrows and gave Zhang Tian a look, then lowered her head. Zai, you little girl. Lady Annihilation Desire hesitated. Then she looked at Zhang Tian and smiled. Fellow Daoist Zhen Yin too, that blue-eyed toad has been a threat to this place for many years. It should be killed. I've had the same idea for many years. As for how to kill it, I wonder if fellow Daoist Zhen Yin too has any ideas? Is the Golden Pine Peak's Peak Lord not here yet? Zhang Tian asked. Why are you waiting for my father? Aren't you afraid that he'll teach you a lesson? Zhang Yunhe was confused. Zhang Tian ignored him. Instead he looked at Lady Miaoyu and said, this blue-eyed toad is only a threat to Jin Songfeng. Since we've helped him get rid of this scourge, he should at least give us some benefits. I'm not convinced, but I'm convinced by you. Zhang Yunhe was dumbfounded. You beat me up like this and you still want money? Are you crazy? Everyone was in a dilemma. This immortal Zhen Yin too seemed to be very greedy. He still wanted to earn money from Golden Pine Peak at this time. If fellow Daoist Zhen Yin too can get rid of the blue-eyed toad, you'll be Golden Pine Peak's VIP and benefactor. Let's not talk about 10 million crystals or even 1 billion crystals. A heroic voice sounded. Jiang Haishan and many other Golden Pine Peak experts flew over on their flying swords with butterfly-leafed wormwood torches in their hands. Jiang Haishan landed on the ground and laughed heartily. Fellow Daoist Zhen Yin too, I'm afraid you don't have the ability. Father. Look at my face. Zhang Yunhe quickly stepped forward, wanting to complain. But Jiang Haishan kicked him away and said angrily, you deserve to be beaten up. Who told you to mess around? The fact that fellow Daoist Zhen Yin saved your life is already a great favor. Dad, am I your biological son? Zhang Yunhe felt wronged. He wished he could throw himself on the ground and cry. What was going on today? Why was everyone hitting him? Sleep and hit Daodu. Do I have to change my name to Daodu? You said that if I kill the blue-eyed toad for you, you'll give me 100 million 5 essence crystals. Zhang Tian smiled faintly. Of course. Although I'm not talented, I still have the money. Jiang Haishan puffed out his chest and laughed heartily. Good. This is my first time here and what I lack the most is money. I'll take this deal. Zhang Tian faintly smiled. With a wave of his right hand, Daoist Graphite's cloth bag fell into his hand. He pulled out a bunch of blue magpie grass and rubbed it with his hands. It immediately turned into green smoke. Then Zhang Tian flicked his finger. The green smoke carried a tempting fragrance as if it was alive and shot towards the center of the lake. Boom! The viscous ink-like lake water suddenly surged with a 10-meter-tall wave, pushing towards the shore like a wall of water. The blue-eyed toad is coming. Ding Ling Dong's face suddenly turned cold as she shouted. Everyone was on full alert. They held their breaths as they looked at the lake, not daring to make a sound. These blue-eyed toads were said to be the mounts of the great demon Bai Zai. They had cultivated for 1,000 years and were very powerful. For hundreds of years, They were notorious for eating human flesh and drinking blood. Countless Foundation establishment cultivators had died in their hands. It was said that they could even devour golden core cultivators. It was said that hundreds of years ago the Heavenly Star Palace, demons subduing temple Heartless sect, giant sword sect, and hundreds of Foundation establishment cultivators and even false core cultivators worked together to trap them for a few days. As for the others, they didn't even have the ability to stop them for a moment. Now many giants took a detour when they saw them. Boom. The water shook violently. Everyone only felt that 4 moving islands suddenly appeared on the surface of the lake. Yes, they didn't look like living creatures at all, but 4 islands and 4 mountains. A total of 4 blue-eyed toads suddenly appeared. The smallest one was more than 100 meters long. The longest one was 500 meters long. It was like a small mountain, like a dragon crouching and a tiger crouching. Their eyes were green and they were the size of millstones. They emitted a frightening cold light as they looked over coldly. Their bodies were covered with huge poison sacs that looked like bronze rivets. They looked like indestructible scales and were densely packed, making people's scalps almost explode. They had lived for too long and had a lot of excrescents such as water plants, water insects, and moss all over their bodies. Some were even wriggling. Tens of thousands of lumps spat out green demonic mist. The mist lingered and each of them could poison a deity realm expert to death. It could be said that each blue-eyed toad had the combat power of a mid-stage Foundation establishment cultivator. The strongest one was comparable to a golden core cultivator. No wonder even Daoist Graphite wanted to use Zhou Xian as bait to poison him instead of killing him directly. At this moment, all the overlords were so frightened that their legs went weak and they found it difficult to breathe. Their faces were pale and they were dumbfounded. Even Goddess Miao Yi and Zen Master Dixin were terrified. Even Peak Master Jiang Haishan looked solemn and fearful. "Zhenyin, let me help you." Among the crowd, only Goddess Merciless Desire was fearless. She took 9 steps in the sky and slashed with her sword. Plang. Goddess Merciless Desire was a pseudo-core cultivator and was second only to the few top overlords such as Taoist Qinkuan and Li Longyuan. She performed the Lihan Heavenly Sword art and slashed with her sword. Her heart was like the heart of the sword, transparent and flawless. A murderous aura suddenly surged in the world. The sword was covered with ice crystals and the cold sword aura was extremely sharp. It spanned a few hundred meters. This is the power of the Heavenly Star Palace. She can destroy an aircraft carrier with one slash. Seeing this, Yi Tianren's eyes were filled with amazement and admiration. Plang. The sword aura spanned 100 meters. The surrounding temperature plummeted. Ice crystals danced and snow filled the air. It slashed heavily on the neck of the blue-eyed toad at the front, which was also the smallest. Boom. The blue-eyed toad's body sank slightly. A few lumps on its body exploded and white venom shot out like a fountain. Squeak. On the shore, a few overlords who were watching the battle couldn't dodge in time. Even if they were at the immortal state, they were instantly melted into bones. Roar. The blue-eyed toad's thick hind legs bounced and flew out like a fighter jet toward Goddess Merciless Desire. It opened its mouth and roared. Its voice was like thunder, making everyone dizzy. Those with lower cultivation spat out blood and staggered to the ground. The blue-eyed toad's slender and flexible tongue was covered with sharp barbs. It was like a pink steel whip that shot out a few hundred meters and swept toward Goddess Merciless Desire. A green wind blew toward her and the stench was unpleasant. Goddess Merciless Desire only smelled a trace of it, but her head suddenly became dizzy. Her chi and blood couldn't circulate smoothly and her body paused. This evil creature. Her furious eyes reflected the rapidly enlarging image of the blue-eyed toad. Lady Annihilation Desire cursed inwardly. She hurriedly held her breath and used all her strength to retreat like a shooting star. "Oh no!" everyone exclaimed. The toad's tongue was unbelievably fast. In an instant, it wrapped around Lady Annihilation Desire and pulled her toward its bloody mouth. Faster! Goddess Miao Yi's beautiful eyes widened. She roared like a phoenix and a dragon. She soared into the sky with her sword and attacked the toad. But immediately, another blue-eyed toad jumped up and slammed into Goddess Miao Yi's delicate body. Bang! Miao Yi felt like a flying mountain had crashed into her body. That kind of power was simply unbearable. Although she used all her quintessential essence to protect her body, she still spat out blood and flew out like a shooting star. Master's going to die. It's all my fault. Goddess Miao Yi thought in despair as she flew backward. But then she saw the most unforgettable scene of her life. Die. Zhang Tian, who was originally hovering in the sky, suddenly soared into the sky. In an instant he was 3,000 meters above the ground. Then he patted the sky-devouring demonic gourd at his waist. 9 flying swords flew across the sky and danced in the air like 9 heavenly rivers pouring down. They shone with dazzling light and pierced toward the 4 blue-eyed toads. Green Ant, Spring Lightning, Moon Soul. Luopa, Golden Crow, Demon Slayer. Imperial Wind, Falling Star, Dragon Scale. When the flying swords shot down, immediately the 4 blue-eyed toads felt a great sense of danger. Their originally furious eyes actually revealed a trace of fear. Whoosh! The lumps and poison sacs on their bodies trembled violently and kept expanding. Then they exploded. The white poison shot toward Zhang Tian in the sky like a whistling arrow. However, Zhang Tian was not afraid at all. A golden light barrier appeared around his body. The highly corrosive poison that could destroy powerful Dharma treasures had no effect on the golden barrier. It flowed down unwillingly. With a shrill sound, the green ant flying sword accurately cut off the little toad's tongue. Thank you, fellow Daoist Janine too. Goddess Miao immediately regained her freedom and thanked him loudly. His figure flashed and flew to the shore. He held Goddess Miao Yi's back with his right hand and sent a warm stream of true essence into her, healing her injuries. Everyone watched in shock. After the green ant flying sword cut off the little toad's tongue, it turned around and pierced through the little toad's forehead at an unbelievable angle. Bang! The little toad's head exploded and fell to the shore, smashing the ground and shaking the mountains. Mud flew everywhere and its 4 legs twitched violently for a few times before it died an unnatural death. Everyone was shocked and could not believe it. This little toad also had the strength to fight against a late-stage Foundation establishment expert, but it could not even block Zhang Tian's sword. Seeing that their companion had died, the other 3 toads were furious and rushed into the sky. Their millstone-like claws slapped towards Zhang Tian. They opened their bloody mouths and spat out poisonous gas. Their long tongues swept out, wanting to devour Zhang Tian. Break! 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 Zhang Tian's flying swords had already pierced into the 3rd eyes of the other blue-eyed toads. To everyone it was an extremely shocking scene. Everyone widened their eyes as if they had seen a god. Chapter 905. Bang! 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 A series of earth-shattering explosions rang out. The heads of the other 3 blue-eyed toads that could withstand the full-powered attack of a golden core cultivator exploded in an instant. Green poisonous fog filled the air and white poisonous liquid shot everywhere. Blood gushed out like a tide, dyeing half of the lake red in an instant. Boom! The water surface shook violently and the huge corpses fell heavily into the water, setting off raging waves that drowned hundreds of meters of the shore. Whoosh! Zhang Tian extended his hand. Endless surging strength and true essence fused into one, forming a huge palm that grabbed the largest blue-eyed toad. Boom! The blue-eyed toad was thrown to the ground, causing the ground to shake violently. Then the other 3 were thrown to the shore as well. They were like a few small mountains lying on the shore. Dead silence. The entire place was dead silent. No one could say a word. There was not even the slightest sound. One could even hear a pin drop. Above, the 100 cultivators gathered on the shore. Everyone stood stiffly like clay sculptures, turning into a still image. At that moment, everyone's hearts were in turmoil and they were shocked to the extreme. Everyone was dumbfounded. They found it difficult to breathe and they couldn't even breathe loudly. He killed them just like that? Zen Master Dixin was dazzled and in disbelief, as if he had fallen into a dream. The strength of the 4 blue-eyed toads was unfathomable. Some people even said that even Li Longyuan, the Heaven and Earth Taoist, might not be able to kill them. However, Zhang Tian killed all of them in a matter of minutes and seconds. It was unbelievable. That Daoist Janine is too handsome. He's my idol. However, Ding Lingdong's body trembled violently, causing the purple gold bell to ring crisply. She looked at Zhang Tian with her beautiful eyes, and her face was filled with admiration and longing. She only felt that the Daoist of the Azure Mystic sect and the other experts on the genius role were not even worthy of carrying Zhang Tian's shoes. She only felt that it was natural for Zhang Tian to catch her and slap her. No, being slapped by Zhang Tian was her honor. She even felt that those sect leaders and city lords on the heavenly Dao rankings were all incomparable to Zhang Tian. So his cultivation is actually this powerful. Too terrifying. When he recalled how he had offended Zhang Tian, Jiang Yunhe felt his scalp go numb and his heart was about to explode. His legs trembled and he couldn't help but kneel down. At this moment, the cultivation that Zhang Tian displayed was at least enough to suppress a false core cultivator. Not to mention Golden Pine Peak, even the entire Demon Cave Mountain, the 3 great sects, and the 4 great cities didn't have the strength to challenge Zhang Tian. If Zhang Tian wanted to kill him now, it would be as easy as crushing an ant. Who would dare to stop him? Who could stop him? How could he not be afraid? He actually saved me and Master, and his cultivation actually surpassed Master's. Even Fairy Miao Yi's expressionless face revealed an expression of shock. Her beautiful eyes opened wide, and her heart almost jumped out of her throat. Shock, disbelief, gratitude, admiration, infatuation. All kinds of emotions surged in her heart. The feeling was hard to describe. In this world, values were much simpler and purer than those on earth. The strong were respected and the winner took all. Since ancient times, beauties loved heroes. All women favored the strong. There was no exception. Fairy Miao Yi was no exception. With this immortal master concealment, the entire Demon Cave Mountain can probably be unified. A great cause can be expected. Jiang Haishan's expression changed drastically as rays of light shot out of his eyes. He wanted to befriend Zhang Tian. His heart was pounding and his desire to befriend Zhang Tian intensified. At this moment, Lady Annihilation Desire bowed deeply and said with admiration and respect, "Thank you, Immortal Master Jiang, for your help in getting rid of these 4 scourges." Lady Annihilation Desire's vision surpassed others. She could see that Zhang Tian had used a trick to stab the 3rd eye of the blue-eye toad, which was the Achilles heel. That was how he killed it instantly. This also meant that Zhang Tian's cultivation might not be at the golden core level, or even at the false core level. However, this did not reduce her admiration for Zhang Tian. Cultivation was cultivation, combat strength was combat strength. Zhang Tian's current combat strength was probably not inferior to hers. Besides, even she did not know about the 3rd eye of the blue-eye toad, let alone that it was its Achilles heel. For Zhang Tian to have such knowledge, she could only sigh at her own inferiority and admire him greatly. Everyone was dumbfounded again. This was an expert on the heavenly laurel, the leader of a sect, and the leader of one of the 3 major sects under the Heavenly Star Palace, the Heartless sect. He could even talk to heaven and earth Taoist Li Longyuan directly. And now, she was bowing to Zhang Tian with a face full of admiration. Big Brother Zhang is too amazing. Suddenly, Qiao Yingluo's face turned red with excitement. She waved her fists and cheered, breaking the silence. Big Brother Zhang has really become famous today. Qiao Beishan's mouth also split into a wide grin. Amazing. So domineering. The stinky monkey wanted to take his place. He jumped up and somersaulted a few times. Only then did the crowd burst into an uproar like a tidal wave. Everyone looked at Zhang Tian with shock, reverence and fear as if they were looking at a god. Zhang Tian put away his flying sword and swooped down, skimming across the water like a swallow. He pulled out a lotus from the water like lightning and sacrificed it to the sky-devouring demon gourd. Then he landed beside the corpse of the toad on the shore and calmly cut out the 3 demon cores. But when he cut out the 4th, Zhang Tian was shocked. This was no longer a demon core but a demon core. This toad was actually a golden core level demon beast. This demon core could be refined into a peerless elixir that could push his cultivation to another level. Zhang Tian immediately sacrificed it to the sky-devouring demon gourd. In addition, this blue-eyed toad was also full of treasures. For example, the venom in the poison sac, which was technically called toad poison, could be refined into a medicine that could clear heat and detoxify, reduce swelling and strengthen the heart. And its gallbladder could treat respiratory diseases, asthma and cough, especially lung diseases caused by the absorption of miasma. Zhang Tian also took out all of them. In fact, the blood, bones and skin of the toad could also be used as medicine, but Zhang Tian was no longer interested. At this time, Jiang Haishan hurried over, bowed and said with a face full of joy, "Immortal Zhenyin Master, thank you for helping us get rid of this scourge and saving Jin Songfeng. It can be considered as avenging our brothers who died in the hands of this evil beast." He was grateful to Jiang Tian from the bottom of his heart. There was a toad's nest at the door that ate people every day, so the heroes of Jin Songfeng could only take a detour. If word got out, the heroes of the world would laugh their heads off. At this time he could finally hold his head high. He smiled generously and warmly invited, "Immortal Genin Master, I have ordered the servants to prepare some wine. Please come to my humble abode for a drink and stay for a few days." Jiang Tian shook his head and said, "Forget it. I'm still very busy, so I won't go for the time being. Remember to prepare 100 million crystal stones." Jiang Haishan couldn't help but be disappointed when he heard that Jiang Tian wasn't willing to go. But he knew as well that an expert like Jiang Tian couldn't be easily roped in, and this matter had to be planned slowly. At this time he quickly took out a storage jade talisman and handed it to Jiang Tian, saying, "Master Kong, 100 million low-grade 5-1 crystal stones. You can exchange it at any crystal shop." Jiang Tian accepted it with a smile. At this time Ding Lingdang also jumped over and smiled charmingly. "Immortal Genin Master, you must be thinking of refining pills. Let's go to Star Capital. My family has all kinds of spiritual herbs and pill furnaces. The largest trading company in the entire Heavenly Star Small World is owned by my family." Fairy Miao Yi's heart trembled and her pretty face turned slightly pale. Her red lips moved a few times, but she did not say anything in the end. Her clear and beautiful eyes were instantly filled with tears. Beside her, Fairy Miao saw this and sighed softly again. Zen Master De Exen noticed that another leaf fell on Jiang Yunhe's head and flicked it away. He put his palms together and said kindly, "Yunhe, my master, Master Pudu said that you have Buddha nature. The door of the demon-subduing temple is always open for you. I don't want to be a monk. Without Lingding, I still have other beauties to pursue." Jiang Yunhe rolled his eyes at him, then smiled with tears in his eyes and said with a choked voice, "I can see that only Immortal Genin Master is worthy of such a wonderful woman like Lingdang. My love will come to an end." Facing Ding Lingdang's invitation, Jiang Tian shook his head gently and said, "I'm not going." "Then can you give me some toad crisps?" Ding Lingdang was inevitably disappointed, but after a moment she pulled Jiang Tian's arm coquettishly and said with a sweet smile, "I see that you didn't collect all of them. Can I take some of the rest? Fellow Daoist Janine is a good person, you won't mind, right?" "It's all yours." Jiang Tian smiled indifferently. The remaining toad crisps, bones and flesh were no longer worth his attention. It didn't matter if they rotted, so why not do a favor at no cost? "Thank you, Immortal Genin Master. You're so generous." Ding Lingdang beamed and cheered, lightly kissing Jiang Tian's face. She could use the toad crisps to treat injuries and the rest could be used to refine supreme-grade pills. Qiao Yingluo saw this and felt uncomfortable. She frowned and scolded softly, "This little slut is a descendant of a famous family and the daughter of the city lord. How frivolous." Jiang Tian used his sleeve to wipe the lipstick mark fiercely. He frowned and said coldly, "If there's a next time, I'll kill you." Jiang Yunhe had already fainted from crying in the toilet. It couldn't be compared. Fellow Daoist Janine will probably be in seclusion for a few days. Lady Miao stepped forward and smiled. "After fellow Daoist Janine is done, why don't you come to my heartless sect for a few days and we can discuss the Tao? If you're interested, you can come to my sect and be the chief elder. You'll be second only to me." Fairy Miao Yi's beautiful eyes lit up when she heard this. She looked nervously at Jiang Tian's handsome side profile. "We'll see. I'll take my leave first." Jiang Tian responded indifferently. He called Little White over and brought Yi Tianren, Qiao Yingluo, the stinky monkey and the others away. All that was left was a mess at the edge of the Black Lake and the dumbfounded crowd. Sigh, killing a toad with a sword and shaking a group of heroes with one hand. I'm afraid that after today the words Immortal Master Genin will spread throughout the Heavenly Star Small World. Zen Master De Exen looked up at Jiang Tian's receding figure, his face full of envy and reverence. Even the chief elder of the Heartless sect isn't good enough. This is the demeanor of a true expert. Ding Lingdong's pretty face also revealed a look of admiration. Her beautiful eyes were intoxicated and she felt that a real man should be like this. Although she couldn't do it physically, her heart yearned for it. Chapter 906. Peak Master Jin Song, I heard that Wu Tengying died in the beast tide. My condolences. After Jiang Tian left, Lady Desireless looked at Zhang Haishan and smiled meaningfully. Sigh, I will comfort his family. Zhang Haishan said calmly. Daoist Master Graphite of the Giant Sword sect died tragically in the Beast Tide. What a pity. Lady Desireless nodded in agreement. Suddenly, Zhang Haishan scanned the surroundings and said coldly, whoever dares to speak of today's matter will be wiped out by me. We won't dare to say a word. Everyone trembled and kowtowed. They knew that the two people who died in Jiang Tian's hands could only die unjustly. In the Heavenly Star small world there were thousands of sects and clans in huge cities. Apart from the Heavenly Star Palace, there were also the Giant Sword sect, the Demon Subduing Temple and the Heartless sect. There were also Star Capital City, Wild Wave City, Floating Spear City, Desolate City, and many aristocratic families. Although there was no spirit internet and communication Dharma artifacts were not widespread, ordinary people often used pigeons, cranes and other birds to communicate. However, in the upper class communication was extremely close. The news of Jiang Tian killing 4 blue-eyed toads spread throughout the Heavenly Star small world in a short time. The huge floating continent of the Heavenly Star small world was stirred up in an instant and could not calm down for a long time. What an amazing talent! This immortal master concealment killed 4 demonic beasts in a second, and they were even golden core demonic beasts. Such a valiant battle record no one in 300 years, no, I'm afraid no one has achieved it. Could it be that this immortal master concealment has already reached the golden core realm? Wouldn't that surpass Daoist Li Longyuan? In the taverns, in the mission halls, in the markets, and between the famous mountains and great rivers, many cultivators were whispering to each other and discussing animatedly. This matter was really too shocking. Those blue-eyed toads were too powerful. They had killed many late-stage Foundation establishment cultivators, and their combat strength was close to that of a golden core cultivator. It was said that several hundred years ago, the Heavenly Star Palace led a group to surround and kill him. Over 100 Foundation establishment and false core stage cultivators moved out together, but they were unable to gain the slightest advantage. But today he was actually killed by a mysterious concealment immortal master. It was truly inconceivable. Where did this concealment immortal master come from? How did he surpass the heaven and earth Daoist? I heard he's a rogue cultivator. Its origin is very mysterious. Is it possible that they came from the ancient sect of the Heavenly Star Palace? Revenge is coming. Or perhaps it's the powerhouses from the other hidden sect worlds who want to gather their forces here and stir up trouble. I suspect that they are visitors from the ruins of immortality. Since you're here, you must be up to something big. You must be up to something big. I'm afraid this space is going to change greatly. Some of the more far-sighted ones had already begun to sense that something was amiss, and their nerves were tense. Is it possible to befriend him? If we were to take such a peerless genius into our forces or form a good relationship with him, it would surely greatly improve the status of our forces. Many forces had the same thought. I'm afraid it'll be difficult. According to witnesses, Ding Lingdang Mieu and Jiang Haishan, the Peak Master of Golden Pine Peak, all wanted to befriend him, but were politely rejected. However, someone immediately pointed out this point. This person has quite a high standard. He doesn't even care about the solicitation of a supreme powerhouse. What does he want? Could it be that he's really a powerhouse from the ruins of immortality who wants to compete with Li Longyuan? When many people heard this, they were so shocked that they were dumbfounded. They gave all kinds of guesses and opinions. Jiang Haishan was nothing. However, Lady Mieu was a powerhouse on the Heavenly Law roll. She was not far from the #1 person in the Heavenly Star small world, Li Longyuan. However, this concealment immortal master had rejected her invitation. It could be seen that this person's standards were really high. Giant Sword Sect. Several elders returned angrily. A white-bearded elder slammed the table and roared, "This matter is fishy. Graphite is the most cautious. How could he die in the hands of a demon beast so easily? We must investigate this matter thoroughly." But Jiang Haishan and Lady Mieu both said so. Another elder shook his head and said, "They must be lying to us. They must be playing us like monkeys." Another elder said coldly, "I heard that mosquito beasts use their mouths to suck flesh and blood, turning cultivators into dried corpses. However, graphite was smashed into pieces by an external force. He was definitely not killed by a mosquito beast." Find today's witnesses and torture them. The white-bearded elder was so angry that his face twitched. He roared, "It seems that Lady Miyu wants to protect this brat. Then we'll deal with her together. I want to let her know that the Heartless sect is not strong enough to challenge our giant sword sect." In the Heavenly Star Palace, 7 halls were built corresponding to the positions of the Big Dipper. The Tao of the palace was natural and ethereal. It was connected to heaven and earth as if it could connect to another starry sky. In the Alcade Hall, after listening to an elder's report, a middle-aged man wearing a bright yellow robe embroidered with 5 colored heavenly dragons and a golden phoenix feather crown slowly opened his eyes. His nose was straight and his mouth was square. His eyebrows were slanted and slanted. There seemed to be stars flickering in his eyes, as if he could communicate with the power of the stars. Strange. This is strange. Li Longyuan was like an emperor who controlled the universe. He frowned and said, "A few days ago the teleportation array connected to Earth was activated once. Then Zhen Daoist appeared out of nowhere and showed the strength of a late-stage Foundation establishment cultivator. This is interesting. It's very likely that he's Kong Teichu who killed Xianxia. Find him and I'll make him pay with his life for Xianxia." Yes. The elder's face turned cold and he bowed and left. At the same time, the demon-subduing temple, Aurora sect, Yellow Wind Valley Medicine God Palace, and other major forces were all alarmed. Zhen Daoist, who is he? Interesting. The giants who had been dormant for 100 years and the old monsters who had hidden from the world all opened their eyes and looked at the demon cave mountain at that mysterious place. They were either inquiring, shocked, or amused. And Jiang Tian, after the giant back eagle flew dozens of kilometers, suddenly said, "Ingluo, put us down here." "Why?" Qiao Ingluo was surprised. "Big brother Jiang, aren't you going back to Jadewell Peak? Before I came to this world, I killed someone." Jiang Tian's eyes turned cold. "Who?" "Qing Xian Daoist." Jiang Tian's words stunned Qiao Ingluo and the others. "That's 6th on the prodigy list. You killed him?" Qiao Beishan's face was full of admiration. "Big brother Jiang can even kill a mid-stage Foundation establishment cultivator, let alone a 3rd-stage Foundation establishment cultivator?" Qiao Ingluo rolled her eyes at Qiao Beishan as if thinking that her brother was too stupid. "That's true." Qiao Beishan scratched his head in embarrassment. "Who's that?" "Meeting Big brother Jiang is a dead end," Stinky Monkey said proudly. Jiang Tian smiled bitterly. "Qing Xian Daoist is Li Longyuan's son. I reckon that with his wisdom he should be able to deduce that the so-called Zhen Yin is me, Kong Teichu. With my current cultivation I have a 50-50 chance of winning if I fight with him. But I've never fought an unprepared battle. Also, I've met the conditions, so I'm going to go into seclusion to break through." "Oh, big brother Jiang, go then. We promise we won't talk about your identity." Qiao Ingluo's face dimmed. Although she was reluctant to part with Jiang Tian, she forced a smile and said sensibly, "You must keep a low profile and not talk about your origins. They'll probably start investigating from Qingyang town." Jiang Tian said lightly, "If they follow the map, they'll probably know you went to Demon Cave Mountain." "We understand." Qiao Beishan and the others nodded. Especially Chu Yunxiu. Jiang Tian said, "That woman looks gentle and noble, but she's hypocritical, snobbish and cold-blooded. Once she knows my true identity, she'll probably be the first to report it to Tianqing Palace. No way, you're not allowed to speak ill of my sister Yunxiu." Qiao Ingluo pouted unhappily. "You have to believe that I've seen countless people. Besides, we don't have to say it, right?" Jiang Tian smiled and pinched her little face. "He actually touched my face." Qiao Ingluo's face turned red and her mind went blank. She was so happy that she didn't faint. "Whatever you say is right. I'll listen to Big Brother Jiang." Qiao Ingluo stammered. Jiang Tian looked at the big black dog. "Old dragon, go protect them. If there's any movement, report to me immediately." "Yes, Master, don't worry. I can deal with a golden core expert," the big black dog said. "You can speak. You're a demon beast?" "But a demon beast has to reach the level of transformation to be able to speak." Qiao Ingluo's beautiful eyes widened in disbelief. Jiang Tian thought that the old dragon was a primitive species and was very powerful. He might even be able to deal with a golden core expert. But Jiang Tian just smiled faintly and didn't explain anything. He took Yi Tianren and floated down. Jiang Tian descended to the ground and arrived before a natural cave that was rarely visited by humans. He said, "Celestial, I'll be cultivating in seclusion here. Help me stand guard." "Yes, master." Yi Tianren quickly cleaned up. "It doesn't matter. It's just a temporary residence. I think it'll only take 10 days. Jiang Tian smiled bitterly. "It'll be done in a while. Master, don't be impatient." Yi Tianren, however, refused. He smiled and insisted on cleaning the cave until it was spotless. Taking care of Jiang Tian, Yi Tianren didn't feel unnatural at all. In the eyes of the world he was already 100 years old and an old man, while Jiang Tian was still a young man less than 30 years old. However, he knew that Jiang Tian had lived for tens of thousands of years, enough for him to be his old ancestor. In terms of age, strength and seniority, this was what he should do. Wait for Yi Tianren to finish cleaning. Jiang Tian set up an exquisite concealment array around the cave and walked in with Yi Tianren. I guessed right. What caused the formation of the blue-eyed toad and mosquito beast was indeed the misty heart water lotus. Jiang Tian sat cross-legged in meditation, a dignified look on his face. He pondered for a while and sighed leisurely. This time, with the misty heart water lotus that contains the primordial water of life, I can finally carry out the third transformation of the gung metal divine body. Gung metal black water. This kind of heavenly treasure, a primordial spiritual item, can't be wasted. Which physique is better? Many cultivation techniques and physiques flashed through Jiang Tian's mind one after another. In the end he sorted out his thoughts and his eyes lit up. He revealed a hint of joy and said with fascination, "Then you might as well cultivate and transform into the supreme green dragon black water divine body among the water-type spiritual bodies." Chapter 907. When Qiao Yingluo returned to Jade Well Peak, the sky was already bright. She went to the dining hall to eat and immediately heard everyone talking about the battle at Blackwater Lake last night. Qiao Yingluo snorted proudly. How would they know that the immortal master who shocked the heavenly star small world was her brother Jiang? Halfway through the meal, a maid walked over and smiled. "Yingluo, Miss invites you over." Qiao Yingluo hurried to Jade Well Trading Company and saw Chu Yunxiu. "Yingluo, what do you think of marrying Huang Zhizhong?" Chu Yunxiu recovered her image of a strong woman and asked with a smile. "No. I want to marry a hero, not a mortal." Qiao Yingluo shook her head firmly. "What's wrong with Huang Zhizhong?" Chu Yunxiu smiled. "He'll be a hall master in the future and earn more money than your father. He can give you a better life." "I don't like him," Qiao Yingluo said with disdain. "I've already asked about Huang Zhizhong. I heard that he's a fat man with internal strength and is especially lecherous. He often goes to Spring Fragrance Brothel to find girls. He's extremely dirty and greasy. Don't talk about marrying him, just thinking about it makes me want to vomit." "Yingluo," Chu Yunxiu shouted softly. Her face was cold and she said with a smile, "What's so strange about a man having 3 wives and 4 concubines? Besides, you'd better know your place. Your family is just a small rich family and can't be compared to the Huang family." Her clear and beautiful eyes shot out streaks of sharp and cold light as she said unhurriedly, "Moreover, all of you are now criminals. Once you're found by the Border City's City Patrol Bureau or the Department of Investigation Services, who will protect you? Won't you protect me? When I was young you said you'd protect me for life." Qiao Yingluo's heart thumped and her eyes turned red. Seeing that she was about to cry, Chu Yunxiu's heart softened and she remembered the good times they spent together when they were young. She stood up and touched Qiao Yingluo's little face. "You're still young and don't understand the cruelty of this world. I can protect you now, but I can't protect you for life. You have to find a husband who loves you and loves you. I don't even know him, so how can I love him? Sister, help me, I don't want to marry him." Qiao Yingluo said aggrievedly. Chu Yunxiu thought, "Looks like this girl still hasn't given up on that Jiang guy. This matter needs to be planned slowly." She changed the topic and smiled. "Yingluo, did you go to the Blackwater Lake yesterday?" If it was before, the simple-minded Qiao Yingluo couldn't bear to deceive Chu Yunxiu. However, just now she felt the coldness and killing intent in Chu Yunxiu's eyes. Now she didn't feel any pressure at all. "Of course not. I only took a stroll outside." She smiled bitterly and shook her head. She even pretended to be afraid and said with a trembling voice, "But even though it's 10 kilometers away, it's still too scary." They fought until the sky was dark and the earth was dark. There's a type of mosquito that's bigger than a dog. It's so scary. Hee hee, now you've seen the true face of the Jiang family, haven't you? He's just a piece of trash who likes to talk nonsense. Chu Yunxiu said disdainfully. He's from Earth, so he's at most in the divine realm. Earth's martial artists can only serve as servants here. Yes, hee hee, Xiao Yingluo smiled bitterly. Chu Yunxiu asked again. What about that Mr. Jiang? Ask him to come over, I'll arrange a job for him. What job? A guard for Huang Biao and his son. Chu Yunxiu said lightly. He's only in the divine realm and can't withstand a single blow. It's okay to be the head of the chores. But the head of the bodyguards isn't qualified. However, if you agree to marry Huang Zhizhong, I'll give him this job. He didn't come back, he said he wanted to find some cultivation resources outside. Xiao Yingluo snorted coldly in her heart. Huang Biao and his son, what kind of trash are they? Even your fiancé is trash, he's not even worthy of carrying Brother Zhang's shoes. This person is so childish, even ignorant and stupid. Chu Yunxiu said disdainfully. This area is very dangerous. Divine realm martial artists are like ants. If you want to go out to find cultivation resources, you have to form a team. He's clearly sending himself to death by doing this. And he ignored the rules of the business. If it weren't for your face, I would have asked him to scram. Xiao Yingluo suppressed her anger and didn't say a word. Although she had just entered the Demon Cave Mountain, she had already felt the danger and cruelty of the cultivation world. Just like Wu Tengying, who treated human lives like grass and wanted to kill them with a raise of his hand. Just like Daoist Graphite, who looked heroic and generous, but was actually as vicious as a snake and a scorpion. Hey, go work in the business, start at the counter. Chu Yunxiu waved her hand dispiritedly. In that nameless cave, Jiang Tian was already immersed in refining pills and cultivation. With 3 demon cores, 1 demon core and many spirit herbs and medicine that he had collected in advance, Jiang Tian finally refined dozens of superior-grade qi cultivating pills. Jiang Tian had been cultivating for thousands of years. The pills he refined were extremely high-end and could be said to be the best of the best. When the pills were completed, thousands of auspicious colors bloomed and thousands of rays of light bloomed. And in the crystal-clear green pill, there was the soul of the blue-eyed toad jumping and moving in the pill. It was very magical. Qi cultivating pills were necessary for foundation establishment cultivators to break through. It was like how qi cultivating pills were indispensable at the qi refinement realm. However, qi cultivating pills contained hundreds or even thousands of times more spirit qi than qi cultivating pills. However, qi cultivating pills were only the foundation for Jiang Tian's breakthrough and not the key. This is the key. Misty Heart Water Lotus. Jiang Tian flipped his hand and a lotus flower appeared from the heaven-devouring demonic gourd. The lotus flower looked especially magical. The wide lotus leaves were like flowing jasper, and the red petals looked as if they were carved from red agate. The root of the lotus was like a beautiful pink jade, and the lotus seeds were very clear and round, like gemstones with excellent water quality. The entire lotus flower was crystal clear and shone brightly, as though it was made entirely of water. Be it the lotus seeds, leaves, roots or petals, they all flowed with rich vitality as though they could create a world. Especially at the heart of the lotus, it was filled with mist and vitality. It was dazzling and made one feel as though they had returned to the beginning of the world. There were even traces of Hongming's primordial aura seeping out. Master, what is this? Yi Tianren was shocked and his eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He could not believe it. He had been in the Kunlun sect, Brahmin, and visited the Holy See all his life. He had been invincible in Wuxia for a century. He had seen many things and seen many things, but he had never seen such a magical treasure. Misty Heart Water Lotus is an ancient species from the beginning of the world. It contains the water of life. It can be used as a primer for my water of life. Jiang Tian stared at the strange lotus and a gratified smile appeared on his face. In fact, the concept of the beginning of the world was a saying in the cultivation world. In short, it should be a plant that was born when the ancient earth was born and absorbed the ancient earth's oldest water of life. In fact, Jiang Tian did not expect to see such a supreme spiritual item like the Misty Heart Water Lotus in this world. After all, when the heavenly star small world separated from Earth, it also went through space-time travel, space gales and many other dangers. It was really lucky to be able to survive. So Master killed the blue-eyed toads in passing. His real purpose was this strange lotus flower. Yi Tianren suddenly understood. He clearly remembered that Jiang Tian had uprooted this lotus flower after killing the blue-eyed toads. That's right. The value of the blue-eyed toads is not even 1/10,000th of the value of this misty heart water lotus. Jiang Tian leisurely sighed. Even with the spiritual energy of the heavenly star small world, it is difficult to support the survival of an ancient species like the blue-eyed toads. It is the original Hongmeng aura emitted by this misty heart water lotus that mutated a few ordinary toads into blue-eyed toads. Moreover, one of them has reached the level of golden core. Master, if you swallow it, the effect will definitely be extraordinary. You can break through quickly. Yi Tianren was very happy for Jiang Tian. That's right. Originally, these true cultivation pills could help me reach the second or even third level of foundation establishment. After all, there is a golden core of a demon beast and 3 foundation establishment demon cores in it. Jiang Tian sat cross-legged on the ground, his eyes shining as he sighed. But if I add this ancient medicine that contains the essence of the water of life and emits the original Hongmeng aura, I will very likely break through to the 4th level of foundation establishment. Doesn't that mean you will reach the middle level of foundation establishment in one step? There will be a qualitative transformation. Yi Tianren was ecstatic. But I am not in a hurry. Jiang Tian said, neither too fast nor too slow. I will compress my true essence cultivation to the 2nd level of foundation establishment. This way my true essence will be vast and condensed. When I break through to the 3rd level of foundation establishment, there will be another change in my physique. The green dragon mystic water divine physique will transform into the wood divine physique. Jiang Tian wanted the 5 elements physique and the 3 mutated physiques to evolve into the chaos divine physique, reaching the point of having thousands of magical powers and endless changes. He would not be eager for quick success and would not let go of any opportunity to transform his spirit root. Compress your cultivation, then your combat strength. Yi Tianren was a little worried. After all, Jiang Tian wanted to destroy Li Longyuan, a golden core expert. If Jiang Tian's cultivation was too far apart, it would not be safe. Cultivation and combat strength are 2 different concepts. Combat strength will not be affected at all. Jiang Tian said calmly. There are no drawbacks to this method of forcefully suppressing one's cultivation. In fact, there are benefits. It will only make one's foundation more stable, but it will not affect one's combat strength at all. Furthermore, the divine consciousness of a golden core expert may be able to see through my cultivation, but he will definitely not be able to see through my true combat strength. Master, you have a higher chance of winning by scheming against the unsuspecting. Yi Tianren understood and was overjoyed. Alright, we don't have much time left. I will start refining the elixir to transform my spirit root and physique. I need you to protect me, Jiang Tian said slowly with a hint of determination in his eyes. He opened his mouth and swallowed a quintessential cultivation elixir. Yes, master. Yi Tianren's expression was slightly stern as he bowed and agreed. Boom. A vast and surging medicinal energy gushed out of Jiang Tian's abdomen like rivers, crazily surging towards his limbs, bones and meridians. Chapter 908. At this moment, Jiang Tian suddenly had an extremely comfortable feeling, like a hungry man eating delicious food, a pervert meeting a stunning beauty. Every cell in his body was cheering and screaming. Speaking of which, it had been more than a year since Jiang Tian's last breakthrough on the Sword Tomb Island. His cultivation of the 1st level of foundation establishment had long been stable, and his true essence was surging and vigorous, reaching the 2nd level of foundation establishment. It could be said that even if he did not use this kind of Zhenpei Dan, he could only use a large number of Zhenpei Dan or other medicinal pills to forcibly push himself to the 2nd level of foundation establishment. However, Jiang Tian had not found a suitable water primer to transform the 7th metal physique into a water physique, so he suppressed his cultivation and did not break through. At this time, Jiang Tian's body, like a long drought, crazily absorbed and refined the abundant medicinal power and spiritual energy. The incomparably vast spiritual energy and medicinal power, in Jiang Tian's meridians and blood vessels, surged endlessly like the Yangtze River. These medicinal powers, Jiang Tian operated the chaos art of creation, constantly refining into vigorous 7th metal true essence. The true essence block rampart in Xianxia's dantian became more condensed and thick, and the number was constantly increasing. Almost in the snap of a finger, there was an additional 7th metal block rampart in the dantian, which was equivalent to the original 10 days to half a month of bitter cultivation. In just one day, Xianxia's dantian was 10 times the size of the original, and it became more pure and condensed like a fertile field, able to breed endless vitality. Yi Tianren could also feel the obvious changes in Jiang Tian's body. The aura on Jiang Tian's body became thicker and thicker, like a lofty mountain. It grew bigger and bigger, taller and taller, bringing great pressure to him, causing him to be frightened and suffocated. He even felt that Jiang Tian's cultivation at this time was more than 10 times stronger than when he fought in the Lakeview Villa. At this time, Jiang Tian, with just a snap of a finger, could turn him into ashes. And this was just the beginning. In the next few days, Jiang Tian's soul, physique and aura were constantly strengthening. Almost every day he experienced a qualitative leap, breaking through a barrier. In the end, he finally stabilized at the 4th level of foundation establishment. However, every time Jiang Tian broke through, there was no huge fluctuation of spiritual energy. Even if there was a fluctuation, the range was very small. This was because the effect of the cultivation elixir, which was refined using 1 Yao core and 3 Yao cores, was too strong. Those were the demon cores condensed by the 4 blue-eyed toads after thousands of years of devouring the misty heart lotuses, the spiritual chi of heaven and earth, and the demon cores of many foundation establishment cultivators. After being refined by Jiang Tian, the vital cultivation elixir contained an inexhaustible amount of spiritual chi. At this moment, even if Jiang Tian were to face a golden core cultivator, he would not be afraid at all. He would definitely be able to kill them within 10 moves. But Yi Tianren felt it again. When Jiang Tian's aura had expanded to its limit, it began to shrink back rapidly, finally stabilizing at the 2nd level of foundation establishment. The gung metal black water is about to begin. After that, Jiang Tian swallowed the misty heart lotuses piece by piece without any refinement. This kind of spiritual item of heaven and earth had a natural Tao. It contained the primordial aura of chaos and was extremely pure. Adding any other herbs or using any method to refine it was a kind of pollution and damage. Swallowing it directly would have the best effect. Boom. After Jiang Tian swallowed it, instantly within his dantian, countless mist filled the air. The exuberant water of life fell like rain, nourishing his dantian. Gung metal 9 transformations, mystic water transformation. Refined for me. As Jiang Tian circulated the transcendental 9 transformations technique to convert his cultivation technique, his dantian changed again. A lot of water of life was constantly washing, colliding and fusing with the gung metal nugget. In the end, it was completely absorbed as if it had never appeared. But soon after a violent tremor, the gung metal nugget began to spew out streams of mist. The mist condensed on the gung metal nugget and gradually formed clear liquid. The water gradually became more and more bigger and bigger. First, it was a gurgling stream and then it gradually became a stream. Then the streams converged into a surging river, breaking through the gung metal nugget, like a giant dragon surging in his dantian. 100 rivers to the sea. Following Jiang Tian's command, many rivers of water of life, like 9 dragons surrounding a pearl, converged into a huge lake lying across his dantian. This lake, with monstrous waves and mist, exuded an exuberant vitality, as if it was all-encompassing and could give birth to a world. The exuberant vitality even changed Jiang Tian's entire dantian. His entire dantian was endlessly nourished, becoming more delicate and viscous, becoming crystal clear. The gung metal nugget was like the primordial gold, emitting thousands of rays of golden light, dazzling and incomparably magical. At this time, the gung metal true essence had not only become more condensed and powerful, but it also contained exuberant vitality, laying some foundation for the birth of the golden core. A green dragon with dense scales as if made of green gold, appeared behind Jiang Tian, baring its fangs and brandishing its claws. My cultivation has stabilized at the 2nd level of foundation establishment, and more importantly, the 2nd transformation of the gung metal divine body, the mystic water transformation, has been completed. Jiang Tian slowly opened his eyes, revealing a hint of joy at the corner of his mouth. Within a few days he had broken through to the 4th level of foundation establishment, and then forcibly compressed to the second level of foundation establishment. Moreover, the mystic water transformation had produced an additional spiritual root, and it was the most powerful green dragon mystic water divine body. Now all kinds of water-type magical powers, both offensive and defensive, healing and destruction, could be said to be at the fingertips of Zhou Xian. It was wonderful and unpredictable. This kind of rapid improvement, this kind of strange transformation, even in the entire cultivation world, there were not many people who could achieve this in thousands of years. If word of this got out, it was simply shocking. It was like a legend. But this was the terrifying part of Zhou Xian's cultivation technique. The Transcendent 9 transformation technique was created by an immortal emperor-level sage after hundreds of years of hard work, just to create the mystical chaotic physique. The sage who created this cultivation technique could be said to be an eternal genius, but it still had a big flaw. Moreover, this cultivation technique was extremely difficult to control, and it could be said that a millimeter of error could lead to 1,000 miles of error. In hundreds of millions of years, many geniuses in the cultivation world tried to cultivate this cultivation technique in vain, but in the end they all harmed themselves. In his previous life, after Zhou Xian obtained this cultivation technique, he repaired it for hundreds of years, and later invited Immortal Emperor Renming and more than 10 other immortal emperors to supplement it. Otherwise, this cultivation technique would still be impossible to cultivate. Why did this kid not go to protect Xiao Yingluo but come back? Zhou Xian scanned with his divine sense and saw that the big black dog was already at the entrance of the cave, talking to Yi Tianren. Zhou Xian walked out with large strides. The big black dog immediately went up and said anxiously, "Something happened to Yingluo, master. You have to quickly go to Jade Well Peak." "What happened?" Zhou Xian asked. Chu Yunxiu talked to Yingluo about a marriage. Yingluo wanted to run but she was restrained. Qiao Beishan wanted to stop them but he was injured. The big black dog said, "Who wants to force her to marry? Don't you know how to suppress them? In any case, you're at the second level of foundation establishment." Zhou Xian frowned and reprimanded. "I wanted to eat them but Miss Yingluo wouldn't let me. She also didn't let me disturb you so I snuck out." The big black dog said with a silly and cute face. Moreover, Qiao Beishan only suffered some superficial wounds. She didn't suffer any injuries, she was just restrained. There are a few people following her every day to prevent her from running away, and to prevent others from approaching. "You're a coward. You can't do it without me. Let's go." Zhou Xian was slightly relieved and didn't bother to talk nonsense with him. He stepped onto his flying sword and took them to Jade Well Peak. Today, Jade Well Peak was decorated with lanterns and colored banners, and the sound of gongs and drums filled the sky. Today Jade Well Peak held its annual meeting, and it was also the engagement day of Zhang Yunhe and Chu Yunxiu. It was a double blessing. The peak masters, cave masters, kings of the mountain ridges, masters of the trading companies, and hall masters arrived one after the other. Some of them were walking on air, some of them were riding on flying swords and spirit birds. Even Goddess Miyu of the Heartless Sect and Star Capital City's City Lord Ding Lai personally came. It could be said that distinguished guests were as numerous as the clouds and as many as the rain. Made this main peak shine and dazzle. At this time in a room on Jade Well Peak, Xiao Yingluo looked distressed and sighed. 3 days ago, Chu Yunxiu summoned her again to discuss her marriage with Huang Zhizhong. Her attitude was very tough. Chu Yunxiu threatened that if she didn't agree, she would drive Qiao Yingluo's family out. Qiao Yingluo finally realized Chu Yunxiu's true colors. But she had a strong personality and wasn't someone to be trifled with. She immediately said that she could leave now. But Chu Yunxiu was aggressive and went one step further. If she insisted, she would hand her family over to the barren city for punishment. This time Qiao Yingluo was a muggle. She was worried that Zhang Tian would be exposed. Now that Zhang Tian was in seclusion, how could he be a match for the heavenly palace? Brother Zhang was at a critical moment in his seclusion. How could she easily interrupt him and delay his cultivation? In desperation, she could only use a delaying tactic and agree to try contacting Huang Zhizhong. Huang Zhizhong had a deer-like head and a rat's eyes. He was fat, greasy, lecherous and frivolous. His lecherous eyes could disgust Qiao Yingluo to death. Qiao Yingluo immediately wanted to sneak out of Jade Well Peak. But Chu Yunxiu was already prepared. She sent a few Transcendent Realm experts to follow her closely. When she saw Zhang Tian suddenly appear, Xiao Yingluo immediately threw herself into Jiang Tian's arms and cried. Brother Jiang Tian, you're finally back. They scared me every day. Don't worry. With me here, absolutely no one will dare to force you. Jiang Tian patted her shoulder. Xiao Yingluo was the first person Jiang Tian met when he came to this space. Moreover, she had always treated Jiang Tian as a big brother. She took care of Jiang Tian's life and was Jiang Tian's guide. She was attentive and considerate. As for Jiang Tian, he really had the feeling of being an elder brother. Just based on this, Jiang Tian would not allow her to suffer any grievances. Brother Jiang, don't let this small matter affect your seclusion. Although Xiao Yingluo was young, she was very sensible. She wiped her tears and forced a smile. Don't worry, I can still handle it. They definitely won't take advantage of me. I'm done with my seclusion. Jiang Tian touched the little girl's head and said gently. Don't worry, I'm here. Not to mention Jade Well Peak, even if the Heavenly Palace Master comes, he has no right to bully you. Trash, who are you? How dare you touch young Master Huang's woman? At this time, the Transcendent Realm expert who followed and monitored Xiao Yingluo sternly scolded. Get lost. Don't make young Master Huang angry and tear you to pieces.